G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, October the 10th, 2022, and got a big show for you tonight. We've got all the action, all the review of Super Saturday that took place on the weekend. We're going to preview this weekend's Liam Paro, Brock Jarvis, and of course the fight, of course, for Paro and Jarvis, and of course the big fight taking place at Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne. It is George Kambosos, Devin Haney 2. So got a little bit of a twist on things as well tonight. On top of that too, by the way, we'll do the world news if we get time and the box rec fight schedule for Australia and any other big things that are coming up. So tonight we've got a little bit of a twist. I am going to bring you guys on to chat. So we haven't done this before, of course. We've always had it. You can put your comments in the comment section or ask a question or wherever it might be. Tonight, I'm going to give you guys the ability to actually come on the show. So the way it's going to work, I'm going to put the link in the comment section in a sec. Then what will happen is you click the link, you put your details in, you'll go into a virtual waiting room, and then we'll bring you on. So anything you want to discuss, whether it's the topics that I'm talking about or anything that you want to talk about, hence the name Talking Boxing. This is your program. As I say every week, I'm happy to sit here and talk for an hour or so, but it's great to have your feedback. So, as I said, I'm going to put the link in. I'll put it in a couple of times as we're going, just in case we have some other people come on the show. I'll whack that in there. I think that has come up. I'm not sure. If it hasn't, guys, let me know, but I'm pretty sure it has. So, click the link. Come on to, as I said, into the waiting room, and we'll go from there. I'm just trying to see whether that's come on there, guys. If it hasn't, let me know. I think it has. Oh, hang on. No, sorry. I haven't put it in there. Let me put it in here. All right. I think that's... there you go. So click the link there. If you want to come on, as I said, it'll take you into a waiting room, and then put your details in and we'll discuss it. So as I said, Super Saturday, Paro versus Jarvis, Kambosos versus Haney, 2 are our main talking points. And then the world news. What about Conor Benn, Chris Eubank? The Fundora Campo fight yesterday on Fox Sports, and also, of course, Fury. Is he going to fight Derek Chisora next? We've had all the other fighters rolled out as far as Usyk, Joshua, Manuel Char, a couple of others. But anyway, now we're talking about Chisora, which I think is ridiculous, but we'll talk about that as well. So let's get into it. Super Saturday. There's Mitch. What do we got there, mate? Mitch Cook. Evening. It's Lyndon, actually, Mitchell, but appreciate it, mate. Hope you had a good weekend. I did. Had a really good weekend, mate. Tell you what, Saturday was big though, wasn't it? It was a long, long day. I'm glad it actually didn't start till 4 o'clock, because I thought the live telecast was starting at 12. And I was all primed for it, but luckily it started at 4 hours, so it just would have been too big a day. And I've got a lot of thoughts on the Super Saturday event. Some a lot positive, some negative, I will say. But overall, just a great event held up there in Newcastle. And of course, Nikita Zoo got the win, Dennis Hogan got the win, Sam Goodman. So we'll go through it fight by fight of the main card. But yeah, look, probably the main positive I will say about the No Limit Super Saturday was that the fact that they stepped autocorrect. It's all good, mate. Everyone gets it wrong. It's Lynden, by the way, but everyone gets it wrong. So firstly to the event itself, and I've really got to take my hat off to No Limit, because they jumped outside, or they stepped outside the box and went with things that Australian fight fans haven't really seen before. So the whole concept, I know there's supposed to be 20 fights, but we only had 19. I know I did see some comments on social media saying, "Oh, yeah, you're promoting 20 fights and you only got 19, and why aren't we getting all the fights from 12 o'clock?" Well, you got to remember, it's a massive day for all concerned. Staff, Fox main event, crews, all the officials. I mean, it's a long, long day for everyone. Especially I know they probably could have had different teams that did the commentary and also the the production side of things, but it just adds more money to the show. So I can understand they only started at 4 o'clock. They still had, I think it was 13 fights, which is just an amazing effort when you think about it, and they all went off pretty much without a hitch. There's a couple of fights I suppose were on the nose a little bit. But overall, I thought it was a great day. So onto the concept itself. As I said, like to be outside. I know that was probably the one shame of the day that I thought. G'day Shane, how are you, mate? Fight fans, yep, beauty. Don't forget the link is in the comment section. If any of you guys want to actually come on and give it a go to have a chat, so we can do that anytime through the show. Click on there and you come on. But I'm going to keep talking anyway. But the whole concept of having the beer gardens, I think they're supposed to have the ring outside for the earlier prelims, have the food vans, have music. I think it was an awesome concept. Unfortunately, Mother Nature stepped in and we weren't able to have all that because it was really bad weather, apparently. So they had to bring it all inside, which is a real shame. I really felt for the promoters, so No Limit, that they had all this planned and had all the entertainment lined up, and to be inside from pretty much 12 o'clock till 11:30, whatever it was that night, it's a big effort for fans. And I think the way they were going to break it up by having the bands and the beer garden and the food vans outside, really, and the fights, of course, would have really just allowed people, almost like at the Australian Open, where you can go inside, you can come outside, have a beer, watch some entertainment outside, and then go back in and really make the day. So I really felt for the guys that they pretty much had their whole audience inside for 11 to 12 hours or whatever it was. It's a massive day. So that was probably the positive. Disappointed, of course, that Paulo Cuso had to pull out. I wasn't exactly sure what happened there. I didn't realise till the day after we did our Thursday show last week that he was out. We did a preview and had him with Faris Chevalier. Didn't happen, which is a real shame. I think Faris Chevalier is on another show coming up soon. I can't remember who he's supposed to fight. If anyone knows out there, let me know. Just trying to think who it was. I did have it there. Anyway, so they were the positives of the day. And again, what just promoters they are, just to not have the stock standard 6 or 7 fights inside, starting at 7 o'clock. The only downside, of course, it was a really late night. I know it was Saturday, which didn't make it too bad for everyone, but still, I would have liked it maybe to finish just a little bit early with a main event on it. Maybe 9:30 or something like that. I know that's what they do. That's what I think makes the American scene a lot better, in my opinion, is because whether it's, no matter what night it is, whether it's Wednesday, Friday, well, they never have fights over there on a Wednesday, but Saturday night for the TV audience, they have the main event at, I think worst case, about 9 o'clock, I think it is. Might even be 8 o'clock, but let's say 9 o'clock. So it's over by 10 o'clock. They treat it like you would with the football or the cricket or tennis, whatever it might be. They have time slots for the event, a TV event, not this whole thing, and we'll just run it and go till midnight. I just don't think fight fans like that. And as I said, that's one thing I do like about the American scene, is that the main event is on at 9 o'clock on the dot, and they work the way back. And if they need a fill-in fight, they chuck it in there. So, but anyway, different markets, I know, all different tastes. I know over here too, we love the tables and that sort of stuff. You don't see that in the States, which I'm a fan of as well. I hate the table setup, and I know No Limit don't do it, of course. But this whole thing, it's all based around the corporates and having to sell tables. And if you want a half-decent seat, you've got to pay $250 to $300 and get your food and all that. A lot of people just want to watch the fights without all that stuff. But anyway, that's a different argument. And again, I applaud No Limit for not going down that track. I think it's a good idea to keep the fight fans happy. So onto the show itself. So let's quickly go through the prelim fights, and we'll get into the main fights. It was a long day sitting there watching them, that I will say, but we'll go through them all, just a quick overview. The first one was Sarah Watt and Ashley Sims. It was a 5-round fight. Ashley Sims, a little bit unlucky. She had the draw against Chanel Dargan in her first fight. She got beaten badly in her last fight. Came up against Sarah Watt, who was a good little fighter. Sarah Watt won a 5-round decision. I thought it was pretty close. Probably could have gone either way, but not a bad decision, I thought, for Sarah Watt. I thought she was the aggressor. She pushed the fight. I think Ashley Sims just needs to... Well, I just think she needs fights. She hasn't really had a boxing background. It's one thing to be in the gym, hitting pads and that sort of stuff, and maybe even sparring, but you've got to get the fights on your belt. From all accounts, she's had no amateur background, I don't think, either. It's probably a latecomer, part of the probably the Instagram generation that are coming through and want to get in the ring, but good on her. I mean, she looked in really good condition. Sarah Watt fought a really good fight, and I thought it was just an excellent fight to get the show started. So Sarah Watt got the decision there. The next one was Antonio Taliva. He won a 4-round decision over George Peterson. Probably tried a bit too hard, I thought, Antonio Taliva, trying to get George Peterson out of there. He's a big guy, he's durable. So I thought Peterson fought a good fight. It was a split decision, I think, in the end. Correct me if I'm wrong. but I think the right fighter got it. I think Antonio Taliva just pushed the fight a little bit more and deserved his win. So that was well done to him. Next up was a really good fight. Taiwana Campbell, I think I pronounced that right, with a 8-round decision over Jessica Adams. This was a really good fight. Taiwana Campbell, she is a very, very good young fighter. I thought she really put it on Jessica Adams, who's not a bad fighter herself. I think she's got a Muay Thai background, I think, something like that. But that was a really good fight. And I really liked, by the way, having all the female fights on there. I know there's a little bit of a little bit being said on social media, there's too many girls' fights, but I think the girls' fights were pretty much nearly the best fights of the night. What do you guys think? I thought most of them were action-packed. Probably a bit like when you watch the AFLW, or NRLW. You don't really have maybe the skill that the male counterparts have, but just that action, and they just go for it. Love it. Andy, there you go, mate. Hello, fans. Lyndon and chat. I missed much. No, mate. We just started with the Super Saturday. I'm just going through the prelim fights at the moment, just with a quick overview. I have put the link in the comment section. I hope it works. If you want to come on at any time, you guys, and have a chat about anything I'm talking about, just interrupt me whenever you would like. So yeah, Taiwana Campbell, I think she's a really, really good prospect because Jessica Adams is a very, very tough girl, and I thought Taiwana Campbell really put it on her, and in the end, Jessica Adams actually did very well, I thought, to last the distance. So Taiwana Campbell with an 8-round decision over Jessica Adams, really, really good performance there. The next fight we're up to was Louis Masters. He had a 2nd-round knockout of Richie Fayoso. Now, guys, I don't know much about the NRL side of things. I did see that Richie Fayoso is a former league player, so let me know if that's the case. But he was up against Louis Masters, who, look, he's probably been a bit unlucky in his last couple of fights. He's fought pretty good guys, I will say, and come up short. But he had probably a guy that's probably more his level, and got him out of there in 2 rounds. And Richie Fayoso, just a little bit out of his depth. I just don't think he's probably had enough experience in the gym as far as his defence and that goes. Sometimes, unfortunately, with these NRL guys, I'm not quite sure how long he's been in the gym, so apologies if he's done the homework, but it just didn't look like it. I think he looked like a little bit of a fish out of water in the end, and Louis Masters trained pretty well by the SUF or the SUF gym in Melbourne. They turned out some really good fighters down there, and a little bit sort of that Tyson-esque type of style, and it was just too much for Richie Fayoso. He just didn't have the basic fundamentals down pat, I didn't think, and got taken out of there in a couple of rounds. So I'm sure he'll be back. He just probably, anyone out there looking that thinks boxing easy, with what all these other guys are doing at the moment, it's not. Sometimes you learn the hard way, and Richie looked like he learnt the hard way there. The next fight was I will say, a good young prospect. A little bit of a mismatch though. That was Amber Amelia. She had a 1st-round stoppage of Danny Mace. Danny Mace is way over her head. But look, Amber Amelia, she was 1-1. I think Danny Mace was 0-1. So look, on paper you would put them in together. But Amber Amelia from a very, very good gym up there in Newcastle, good management, good team behind her, and did knock her out. The referee did the right thing by stopping Danny Mace, I thought, in the 1st round, a bit of the mercy rule. Amber Amelia, now, I did see also with Amber Amelia that she's only allowed to fight 4-round fights. Now, I did a bit more of a research about it. Now, she's apparently got some disorder that prohibits her from fighting past 4 rounds because something kicks in and she can pretty much just run out of gas like that. So she's only with 4-round fights. I really hope they can get to the bottom of it. So she can go on with her career and fight obviously 6, 8, 10 round fights because she's got so much talent. Very, very marketable. Very good looking girl. She can fight. She's got the real good Instagram page from what I've seen. She had Shannon O'Connell, of course, in her corner as well. And I thought she was a really, really good young fighter who could go on to do some really good things. So I'm really hoping she gets past that syndrome that she has where she can only fight 4 rounds because she's got so much talent, and it'll be a waste, I think, if she can't sort of go on with her career and has to just fight 4-round fights for the rest of her career. Danny Mace, look, she needs more work in the gym. That's probably all I can say with Danny. She had a go, but just should not have been in there with Amber Amelia, who was just As they say in boxing, there's levels, and unfortunately Amber was here and Danny was here. No disrespect to Danny, because I respect anyone that gets in there, win or lose. But I just think that fight was probably just a bit too much for her against just a really, really good young prospect. And how good is female boxing at the moment? We're just kicking goals, and in the world scene, we're going to have probably 6, 7, 8 girls that are all going to be fighting for world titles. So it's really good, and especially other countries have probably had a bit of a head start on us, the States and England and a few other European countries, but now we're catching up. A lot of the girls are getting those fights in the amateurs and turning pro and doing really good things. Yeah, Mitch, Amber's body shots were brutal. They were brutal, all right, mate. And Danny Mace actually did a really good job of standing up, but as I said, just out of her depth. Let's hope that Amber gets probably someone a little bit more her level next time, because she can do some really good things, Amber Amelia, if she can get over the hurdle, of course, her ailment, which is prohibiting her from fighting more than 4-2s at the moment. I know she was doing sparring with Shannon. I spoke to Shannon last week and actually asked her about Amber Amelia, and she said, look, make sure you watch her. She's got the goods. I think she's sparred Shanika Johnson as well. She's sparred other girls as well. So some of the best girls in Australia, more than held her own. So let's hope she goes on to bigger and better things, does Amber, because if you've got Shannon O'Connell calling you the next big thing, well, that's a good company to be in. So the next one, speaking of red-hot young girls at the moment, in the boxing sense, I mean, Ella Boot. She had an 8-round decision win over Zoe Pudarak. Very, very game. Ella Boot, look, she's trained by Johnny Lewis. Looked the goods. Probably going to be a little bit controversial here, and so I wasn't overly impressed by the performance. I'm going to criticise the females just like I do the males. So if you're a little bit of whatever persuasion where you get a little bit offended, I'm sorry. I'm just telling it the way it is, and I'll get to some of the males later. But I just thought Ella Boot, she's got all the ability in the world. I just think, was it a combination of maybe trying too hard or just trying to get Zoe Pudarak out there? And Zoe Pudarak has got a very good combat sports background as well. So I just think she wasted a lot of energy. It's pretty obvious from the word go that Zoe Pudarak was not going to be stopped or knocked out. Too tough, too durable, too experienced in the combat sports. And I just think Ella Boot just probably tried a bit too hard. She looks like she sort of punched herself out, I thought, in probably the first 4 rounds, and really just struggled in the last 4 rounds, just doing enough to win the rounds, I thought. So I know there's a lot of people high on Ella Boot, but I've got to tell you, if I had a probably choice between 2, I would probably go for Amber Amelia as far as that talent goes and potential. I've only seen Ella Boot that on Saturday, seen some highlights of her. I'm sure she'll come good. She's got one of the best trainers ever in Australia in her corner. So I'm sure she'll, once she gets that experience behind her, she'll be a great little fighter. But I just think she needs just to relax a little bit, box a little bit more, look for the shots, and just recognise when you're just not going to get these girls out of there. And as I said, Pudarak was a tough girl. A lot of ability too, I will say. Gave as good as she got in a lot of exchanges, but I just thought, it's pretty obvious that Pudarak was going nowhere in that fight. I just think Ella Boot probably should have been told just to relax, score the shots, work off the jab, then go to the body over top, whatever it might be. But I just think she rushed it, and as a result, just punched herself out a little bit too early and really struggled in the last 2 rounds to see the fight out, fitness-wise. What do you guys think? Am I overreacting, or being a bit hard on Ella? Look, as I said, I just call it the way I see it. If you've got an opinion, as I said, you're more than welcome to come on. I'll put the link in there again in case you missed it before. If you want to come on and discuss. So Ella Boot, all the potential in the world, but as I said, she just needs to probably just get a few more fights under her belt, get a little bit more schooling. I know she has apparently had a good amateur background, so I'm sure she'll be fine. I would love to see her maybe with a fight with Sky Nicholson at some stage down the line, or Beck Hawker. That would be a really, really good fight as well, I think. So plenty of good fights out there for all the girls in the future. Then we get to a guy that I know very, very well. His name's Jade Mitchell. Jay Mitch, he fought Mark Lucas. Look, Jade hasn't been in there for, I think, over 2.5 years. Would have been really tough for him. He came down from 110 kilos. I think he had to lose 30 kilos. Now, you might say it's his own fault. He let himself get that way, and I'm sure he'll be the first to say that. But the main battle for him was getting down. I think he did actually miss weight barely by like half a gram, or sorry, half a kilo or something like that. But either way, they would have worked it out behind closed doors. But look, I think this was definitely a situation of Jade saying, well, I just want to win this one and I'll look good next time. With that long out of the sport and all that weight being lost, I think it was just a matter of just getting in there. I think Mark Lucas was a perfect opponent. Not a big puncher, pretty inactive himself. I think he hadn't fought for a couple of years since he was stopped by Isaac Hardman. And look, he was durable. He hung in there. I think he thought he might have won the fight, which I don't think. Look, it was close-ish. I still think Jade probably won it 4-2. You could probably make a case for a few rounds here or there, but I thought, Jade won the fight 4-2. Look, it wasn't a great performance, I will say, and I'm saying this with, hand on heart. I know Jade really well and known him for many years. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. Probably wasn't his best performance, but he just did what he had to do. It was hard for him as well because Mark Lucas wasn't really engaging either. He was more content just to sit off and let Jade come to him, which is not Jade's style. He likes to box and have his opponents come to him, hence the name Matador. He likes to be a counter puncher and box from a distance. So for him to actually be the one pushing the pace would have been hard. But the good thing about that, he was able to dictate the pace. So he was able to put it on when he wanted to and rest when he wanted to. Mark Lucas was just pretty much going along with whatever Jade was doing. Okay, fight. It was pretty horrific though. The cut on Jade's eye. I know Mark Lucas got one in his head. That would be pretty easy to stitch up and heal. The one on Jade's eye, that's going to take a little bit of healing. I know he was looking to fight again before the end of the year, but it ain't going to happen now with that cut eye. He's probably going to be out for at least 3 or 4 months, I would think. Yes, Andy, like and subscribe. I like that. So I keep forgetting to do that, guys. So like, subscribe, share, all those sorts of things. We want to try and build this up, get a few more people on here, and obviously, hopefully, come on and have a chat. You can see the link in there. If it's not working, let me know. I think it should work. But if you guys want to come on for a chat, then, as I said, click the link and you can come on and let me know your thoughts. So I think from what I've heard with Jade, he'll probably fight early-ish or in the first quarter of next year. I know that he's looking at a couple of options out there. Other Aussie fighters is Balakaway, of course. There's maybe Rowan Murdoch. There's a few others out there, but I think I would like to see Jade get another 2 fights, maybe even 3, or probably 2, I would say. 2 more, let's maybe go to an 8-rounder and then maybe a 10-rounder against beatable opposition. And then, maybe it's a Isfan Zili rematch. Of course, he was the last one that Jade fought. He beat Jade. That was on our show. So maybe try and get his revenge that way and get out the road and then, go on to bigger and better things after that. But the clock is ticking. He's 36 years old now, I think he said. So he's got to get this done within the next sort of 12 to 18 months or he's going to miss his window. Knowing Jade, he'll want to get straight back in there in sort of February or March and then fight soon after that. But that's my opinion. Fight another, maybe an 8-rounder and then a 10-rounder and then go into some of those bigger fights. But no limit, and his team will no doubt make the right calls for him. Then we get into the main card. I was really impressed with the card, I will say, especially with the first fight. How good was this? Probably the fight of the night. Aisha Abied with a 5-round decision over Chanel Dargan. What a fight this was. And Aisha Abied, I think she'd only won 1 of 6. So, amazing record. Because when she came out, I'd never seen her fight before. I know 3 of her losses were against the same fighter in New Zealand, against a pretty hot fighter over there. Chanel Dargan, all 3 of her fights have pretty much thrown the fight of the year basket. So it was always going to happen, and it was on. Now, Chanel Dargan, she come out. You could tell she probably wanted to make a statement. Because she was pretty lucky, I thought, to win her last fight. I actually thought the other girl beat her in the last fight. So maybe she was looking to go out there and make that statement and go out there and let a few go. Probably the worst fighter she could have done it against, because Aisha Abied, look, really, really good skills. I'm not quite sure who her trainer was, but really good defensive skills. She didn't panic. She put the hands up. She rolled with the punches. She clinched. She pivoted off. She did everything that she was supposed to do, including the main one, as I just said, was not panic. Chanel Dargan come out throwing bombs, and she just wore it. She let Chanel Dargan have the first round and regrouped, and then she really started to pick the fight up. I thought Chanel Dargan definitely won the first one. I would probably give Ayesha Abed 3 of the next 4, but geez, a lot of them were close rounds. It could have easily gone either way. I wouldn't have argued if Dargan got the result. I know a lot of people out there said that was the case, but look, just a fantastic fight, and I would really like to see a rematch of this one. So many girls you could probably match against each other, and they'd be a hell of a fight. They'd be really, really good fights. So let's see what No Limit have got in store. And as I said at the start, I really like the fact that No Limit have taken on pretty much the whole stable of Aussie boxers in the country, and are matching them against each other for great fights. And even Ashley Sims, who hasn't had a win yet, she can hold her own against any of those girls as well. So look, it's good time for Aussie boxing, and of course we've got the two biggest ones probably in history coming up soon, and one of those we'll preview a bit later. Into the next one, Dara Foley and Blake Minto. He's a bit of a character, is Dara Foley. He's probably Australia's version of Conor McGregor, I will say. But look, he's entertaining. He gets people talking. You can tell Blake Minto had enough by the weigh-in. There was a little bit of argy-bargy, a bit of push and shove. And I think Dara Foley might have actually thrown a couple, little ones in there. But look, the fight, it wasn't a great fight. Again, it's just my opinion. Look, I think the referee totally lost control of the fight. He let the guys continually foul. A lot of them weren't intentional fouls, I will say. A lot of low blows, a lot of elbows, a lot of pushing, a lot of holding, heads colliding. There was a lot of things you would classify as fouls during the fight, but the referee let it go. He warned them for things he probably shouldn't have, and did warn them for other things. So much holding. The tape on the gloves, I can't believe that a point wasn't taken from one of them. The referee totally lost control of the fight. But all that aside, Dara Foley, look, I think he was trying to box from a distance and get his range. But Blake Minto, being a little bit shorter, he was obviously trying to get the fight as close as he could. He was getting low, he was coming up, and it was just a real scrappy, ugly fight. And I must admit, I won't lie and say that I was counting the rounds down, that it was going to be over. But Dara Foley, you can only fight who they put in front of you and the way they fight. He did what he had to do. Wasn't an impressive performance, only because it was just a scrappy fight. I think Dara Foley's got the ability to be very impressive against the right type of fighter, but I just think sometimes he negates himself a little bit by trying to probably punch on with his opponent too much. He doesn't sort of use his range enough, I don't think, and doesn't try and use his footwork or anything like that. He just tends to pretty much meet his guy's head on in the ring and just negates himself, because he looks like he's a really, really good boxer. He's got all the tools. I don't think he's a big puncher. I might be wrong. But when you're fighting spoilers like Blake Minto, or a fighter like Blake Minto who tried to spoil, I just think he just didn't fight the right fight. He should have probably been giving Blake Minto a few more angles and trying to give himself a bit of room, and just found himself getting tangled up time after time after time, and it was just an ugly fight. But some plenty of other good fights out there for Dara Foley. Look, maybe he might fight the winner of Paro and Jarvis, or maybe he might even fight the loser of Paro and Jarvis. Let's see, because there's still going to be big names in Australian boxing, whoever loses that one. So who knows? The Stevie Spark fight looks gone for the meantime, because he's obviously fighting next month against Montana Love. But again, probably like Jade Mitchell, Dara needs to get himself going and really start fighting those fights. And I know he's starting to fight regularly, which is good, but he just needs to probably get that really step-up fighter and to see whether he's going to make it or not. The next fight was a 6-round fight, and I was a little bit sort of surprised this fight was actually after Dara Foley and Blake Minto. It's Cody Beacon and Locky Higgins. Now, Locky Higgins only fought a couple of weeks ago, I will say. Cody Beacon really impressed me, I will say. He's a Newcastle fighter, another one. There's a lot on the card. I thought he fought really smart. Locky Higgins always comes to fight, always gives his all. But Cody Beacon, he pretty much just outboxed him. He didn't get involved in a slugfest with him, and just boxed him, picked his shots, and just did more than enough to win. So unanimous decision for Cody Beacon over 6 rounds. Very impressive young kid, and I'm sure he'll get some good opportunities out there as well. I think that was only his 4th fight or 5th fight, so he'll get some good opportunities out there as well, as will Locky Higgins. One of those gatekeeper types of guys who will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. The sport needs them more than anything, and always willing to step in. So good luck to Locky. We need fighters like him. And, good luck going forward with Locky Higgins as well. And then we go to the three main fights on the card. The first one was Sam Goodman, Jason Cooper. What a masterclass by Sam Goodman. He has got the goods, this kid. Jason Cooper, I think he hadn't had a fight, or he might have had one fight in the last few years. He hadn't been active at all, but took the fight. I thought he was very game. I think he made the mistake a little bit of upsetting Sam Goodman in the lead up to the fight between me and you guys out there. Sam Goodman was on a bit of a mission to make an example of Jason Cooper, and who really impressed me as well, by the way, Jason Cooper. What have we got there? That is Shane. First time I'd seen Beacon, thought he boxed very well. Yes, mate. Yep, agree, 100%. I thought he boxed very, very well. And as I said, he'll get some good opportunities down the track. But Sam Goodman, look, started off just the way you should when you're fighting, when you're the A side fighting the B side. He took centre ring, sharp punches. I think at one stage he threw a left-right, followed by a hook that was lightning quick. Then some lightning punches after that pretty much, I think, made Jason Cooper's eyes swell up. And pretty much won every single round. You might have made a case for Jason maybe winning one, maybe 2 rounds late. But Sam Goodman, just an absolute masterclass. The kid's got it all. And afterwards, it was obviously actually revealed that he'd be fighting Las Vegas on the Tim Tszyu undercard. So how good's that for the young guy? Like every young fighter who's probably dreamed of fighting in Vegas, to be on the undercard of Tim will be even better. And it should be awesome for Sam Goodman. But look, his world title material, I'll probably hold judgment just a little bit until I see him against some more world-ranked type of opponents. I'm not getting caught in the trap of seeing Aussie fighters beating up on Oceania region type of fighters, and Aussie fighters, of course, and then stepping up and not being of the level. I think he's definitely at the level, I will say, but I'm going to hold judgment until I see him in against a top 15 to 20 world-class fighter, and even better if it is in the States, even better platform for him to show what he's got, because as I said, I think he's definitely got the ability and all the tools to win a world title, at least fight for a world title down the track. So very, very impressive guy. I tell you what, what's the name of his supporter group, the Mad Bunch or whatever they are? If a few of them hit Las Vegas, it's going to be interesting over there. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Which will come around really quick. It's only, 3.5 months away. So won't be long, and we'll be here. We're into Christmas and New Year, and then before we know it, we'll be into that fight. So the next fight was probably what many would consider the main event. It was Nikita Tszyu with a 3rd round knockout or stoppage of Darkin Dryden. Now, I've got my own views on this one, and I really want your views out there. What do you make of Darkin Dryden stopping or quitting on the stool? My first reaction when I saw it was, you've got to be kidding me. Surely, you're kidding me that you're going to quit on the stool after all the talking and all the bravado and the Hannibal Lecter mask and, you know, the tough guy sort of image, and you're going to quit after 3 rounds. Now, Jeff Fennick actually said after he applauded the stoppage, and I'm not going to argue, of course, with Jeff Fennick, mixed reaction on social media and in the crowd on the night. What do you guys think? Now, having watched it back, look, I can see where his team would have looked at, and him himself would have looked at it and said, look, I've got no hope of winning this fight, even getting close to Nikita, let alone landing a punch on him or a decent punch. So why go through, 6 rounds of this one? We can call it off here. I was probably just more basing it on seeing Jason Cooper last 10 rounds against Sam Goodman. He barely won a round, if any rounds. He was getting beaten badly round after round after round. He wasn't getting, like Jason Cooper, Darkin Dryden wasn't getting hurt, I don't think. Yes, he was getting carved up. He was wearing many, many punches. He was getting outclassed. He was getting schooled. But was he getting hurt? So that's the argument. Shane, good point there, mate. You look gone in the eyes. Yep, that's what I'm asking you guys. What are your thoughts? I just thought, as I said, that after seeing Jason Cooper dig in, and there could have been a lot of arguments made for pulling Jason Cooper out along the way, and I would not have argued for 1 second after the 7th or 8th round if they pulled him out. But yeah, look, having watched the fight back, I must admit, it was I could probably see the case for pulling it up. He wasn't going to win the fight, so I can understand that, but it was just, again, what do you guys think? Mitch, what do you got there, mate? It was Joey that made the decision, not Darkin. Okay, well, thanks for clarifying that, mate. I wasn't aware of that. Because all they really had on the TV was, you could see he was actually a little bit glassy eyes, but whether that was just bewilderment of just being pretty much bedazzled for 3 rounds and just not knowing where the punches are going to come from. Because I don't think he actually looked visibly shaken or hurt or rocked during the fight. As I said, yes, he was taking a lot of punches. Well, not a lot of punches, but taking some meaningful punches. But to me, he didn't really look rocked or hurt or at the verge of going down. So that's probably more that I'm getting at. But look, if the corner made the decision for him, then no argument whatsoever. It's their job to make sure that he's safe and not getting hurt and not going out there and copying unnecessary punches. So if they made the call, then hats off to them as well. What do we got there? Okay, so that was according to Darkin's post today anyway. All right, yeah, so I didn't see that, Mitch. I didn't see that the post he put up. He didn't, but the thing is, he didn't seem to argue with it. There was no remonstration with his corner. Normally, if the fighter wants to keep going, there might be some words with his cornerman who stopped it. But as I said, then, if the corner made the decision to stop the fight, then they're in a better position to make the call than what I am and anyone else is. My comments will probably base more on, did Darkin Dryden sit down and go, well, that's enough? Because if he did, probably not the best light to go out on. But if it's his corner, then good call by them. But the Nikita Tszyu performance, I was really wrapped that. And I knew it would be the case, to be honest. I think I might have said this last week. I wouldn't be surprised if he stands at a distance and tries to pick Darkin Dryden off. Darkin Dryden probably only knows really one way to fight. That's coming forward. He does throw bombs. So why just bomb away with someone you don't really need to be bombing away with? So I really thought it was great that he boxed when he had to. He fought when he had to. And he moved and clinched when he had to. I thought it was a really, really good performance. Darkin Dryden also was probably a really good opponent to try this new type of style with, because he's pretty much a straight ahead, here I'm coming, and I'm just going to throw bombs at you. So pretty predictable. The Ben Horn fight, look, Ben Horn, like his brother Jeff, very, very, very awkward fighter. They'll lead with the left, they'll lead with the right, it's left foot forwards, right foot forward, they're in, they're out, they'll clinch, they'll hold, they'll move. Very, very unpredictable fighters, and you can understand why Nikita got all tangled up with Ben and wore a few at the end as well, and probably tried a bit too hard to get him out of there. But I thought he was very methodical against Darkin Dryden. And Darkin Dryden's no slouch, don't get me wrong. And he'll get some other fights out there. Probably there are some really good fights for him out there. But in this instance, as I said, I was really happy that Nikita just picked his shots, took his time. He was prepared to go 6 rounds. And you would have seen him afterwards. He said, well, this is as close to a chess match I could get. He was challenging me. I had no choice but to fight back. But when he did, how good were the shots? Some beautiful shots. He didn't stand there for the retaliation. He got off to the side, attacked again. And just a brilliant performance by Nikita Tszyu. And the only thing I will say for Nikita going forward is there anyone else in Australia that's probably going to be willing to fight him at this stage? I'm sure there's going to be other fighters out there. There's obviously Benjamin Bomber, although he's with the other mob now. He's with DNL. So I'm not sure whether that will happen. Excuse me. Look, as he steps up, there's probably a Victor Nagbeers, maybe Benny Mahoney. Maybe there's a Wade Ryan, although he's at middleweight. There's some guys out there, but after only having 4 fights, I'm not sure there's a lot out there that are at the level now without him sort of jumping up. So maybe there's some imports. Who knows? Mitch again. Nikita really impressed me. He showed a whole new level in my opinion. Guess it's true that fighters need that Ben Horn kind of fight to really move forward. Yeah, mate, as I said, I agree. And look, as I said, Ben is just one of those fighters that you need to fight on the way up just to be used to different things. Not all fighters are just going to stand there and let you knock them out. And Ben Horn was there to fight. Wasn't there he was there to win as well. He wasn't there to hold on and grapple and wait to get bowled over. He was there to win. Or at least give Nikita a good fight. And Nikita learned from that fight. It was a great fight for him to have at that stage, I will say, because he knew that he just couldn't go out there and knock everyone out. He knew he had to be patient, had to pick his shots. And I got a feeling if he fought Ben Horn again, it might be a little bit different story, that he might get Ben Horn out of there next time, because he wouldn't allow himself to be tied up and held and clinched repeatedly and punch himself out as well. I think you would find him a lot more methodical. So let's hope. Look, there is, some other fights out there. Look, I think one fight that makes sense is a fight with Victor Nagby, I think, for the Australian title. I would probably like to see Nikita have another 2 fights before fighting someone like Victor Nagby, even though he's only had 5 fights. A very extensive as a kickboxing background, I think it is, or Muay Thai, one of those. Very, very experienced fighter across the arts. So I think it's probably just a little bit early. I just don't need the fight. You've got to remember, Victor Nagby beat Sam Solomon. So he's a good fighter. And obviously on the weekend he beat Adrian Rodriguez as well, who's no slouch. So maybe I would think maybe an Adrian Rodriguez is a type of fighter that would be good for Nikita Tszyu. But Victor Nagby at the moment, as I said, I wouldn't mind him just having 2, if not 3 more fights before fighting someone of Victor Nagby's abilities. So we'll see. Shane. He didn't wobble. This is Dark and Dryden. He didn't wobble, but just at the end of the round, he was very hurt in the corner. He couldn't see or listen. He was in the fog and gone. Okay. Yeah, well, it depends on how you interpret it, mate. You're probably right. I didn't see a fighter that was, I don't think, hurt. I just thought he was just bedazzled. I think he was totally, what the hell is going on here? There's like 3 of them out there. And I just think it was that sort of glazed look in his eyes was more just him just being totally outclassed. Mate, look, who knows? There's lots of things that goes through fighters' minds. I just think he got back there, and I think he was totally gassed out. I think that was another aspect of it as well. I think he was more gassed than hurt. But look, each to their own. You know, there's so many different ways. But again, it comes back to the corner. If the corner looks at their fighter and says, Darkin, you've had enough, then I totally back away from everything and say, hey, good call. If the fighter retires on the stool, just asking the question. Was he just gassed or hurt or humiliated? I don't know. But I was just surprised if it was Darkin's decision that after everything and the opportunity that he had, that he would retire on the stool. But again, if it was the corner's decision, then happy days. What do we got there? Jay Brown, thanks for tuning in, Jay. Fast turnaround, but I would like to see Nikita head over with T2 and jump on the Bridges versus Shotgun undercard. Yeah, well, who knows? I don't think that's going to happen just because of the promotional firms, Jay. Nikita's obviously with No Limit. Bridges and Shotgun is with Matchroom. I'm not quite sure everyone's on terms or good enough terms at the moment where that would happen. I think, look, I wouldn't even mind seeing Nikita's call it a day for this year. Put the queue on the rack. What is it? October now. Maybe go over with, obviously, Timmy will be there, of course. Maybe go over there. Don't fight on the undercard. I would strongly suggest against that. Go over there, spend the training camp with Tim, get some sparring over there with Tim against, other guys while Tim's there, and use it as more of a experience than going over the fight. Because you've got to remember what happens, heaven forbid, if he fights on the undercard of Tim and happens to get really hurt, gets knocked out, gets hurt. What sort of mindset does that put Tim in before he fights Charlo? That's why I don't like siblings fighting on the same card for that reason. Because if something happens, it can really put you out of your mindset. And this is the opportunity of a lifetime for Tim. This is for all the belts. So I would think just keep Nikita off the card, but take him over there for a month or whatever it is, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it might be, and get him as much sparring and experience over there as possible with all those fighters over in the States. And look, who knows? Maybe there's a card in the States that's not a Tim's card, and maybe it's a week or two before or whatever it might be. Somewhere might be LA or wherever in the States or in Vegas, of course. Maybe get him on that card as a standalone fight. Maybe that's an option. But yeah, definitely on Tim's card. But yeah, look, I think he's had a pretty tough year. It's been a really learning curve for him. Not just the fights themselves. I know he's had 4 fights in the year, but it's also just getting used to becoming a professional, training like a professional, the diet. The longer training sessions, your body adjusting. He hasn't been in the sport for a long time, remember? So I wouldn't have a problem with him saying, you know what, it's October now, let's just call it a day. Let's go over with Tim. I'm assuming it's going to be in probably late November, early December. Let's head over to the States and for 8 weeks or 10 weeks, whatever it is. And, as I said, get all the experience we can over there. Tara Louise. I actually thought the same thing, Shane. To me, he didn't really look like he was all there, so to speak. Yeah, look, it's how you perceive things. I looked at him and just thought he was just totally befuddled by the fight. I don't think he was hurt. I just think he was just totally, what the hell is going on here? I might be wrong, but that's sort of what I saw. And being completely gassed, I think the decision was made. Look, you've had enough. Pull him out and be done with it. But each to their own. But for Nikita, on the bigger and better things, and I'm sure he'll be taking some bigger fights in the near future before we know it. And then on to the main fight. Now, positive and negative about this fight. Dennis Hogan and Sam Eggington. The positive, of course, is what an unbelievable effort by Dennis Hogan. He's had those other heartache stories, I suppose, when he fought the other 3 times. I can't remember who he fought the first time. For an interim belt, he lost obviously to Jaime Munguia in a highly controversial 12-round decision in Mexico back in 2019. Of course, he came up against Jamal Charlo, so the older Charlo at middleweight, so he went up in weight. I can understand why he did it as an opportunity, good payday, big card, all the rest of it, but it probably wasn't a great fight for him when you think about it. So I'm really happy for him. Look, the IBO, as we know, is not one of the big organisations, but whatever is written on the belt, the fact that he got his belt after all the heartache he'd been through, all the sacrifice and hard work that he's had to put in, I don't care what belt it is, I'm really happy for him that he got that belt. The one thing I'm a little bit disappointed in is the fact it was on this card. Now, I can understand no limiter, so look, it's pretty hard to put a standalone fight like this in many areas, but to have it on this particular event, I just don't think it made sense. First sense, probably financially, from No Limit's point of view, probably the first thing is why would you look at putting an Englishman and an Irishman on in Newcastle? That's probably the biggest thing, but they're looking after Dennis, and I really applaud them for saying, you know what, we're probably going to lose money on this particular fight, but this is about Australian boxing, about giving Australian boxers an opportunity, even though he's obviously from Ireland, but he's based in Australia. Kudos to them for saying that, by saying, look, we're going to put this fight on, lose money on the actual fight, but we're going to give you an opportunity because that's what we're here for, so that's great. But the sense of putting the fight on this card, I mean, when you think about it, they probably wouldn't have sold any more tickets at the actual event. It would have been probably a sellout anyway. They probably wouldn't have sold any more pay-per-views. It was probably, probably didn't contribute a lot to the pay-per-view sales. I think it was all about Nikita Zoo and everything else. So I can understand that. So I think they would have lost a fair amount of money. But again, so much respect to No Limit for saying, look, we're probably going to lose money with a lot of zeros on this, but we're going to put it on because this is what we're here for. To put it on this particular card in the slot they did, they had it as last fight. I really felt for Dennis Hogan because his highlight of his career was probably fought in front of 600 or 700 people, which is just tragic for him. As he was walking out, and Sam Eggington by the same token, to walk out and the stands are empty, barely anyone at ringside. I really felt for both guys, particularly Dennis Hogan. Sam Eggington, he's getting paid. He probably didn't care. He was just there to defend his title. But Dennis Hogan, to walk out there and see 600 or 700 people there, I thought it was a real shame. There wasn't really much atmosphere during the fight. It was just a real shame. I thought that his big opportunity there, and that's what happened. Look, I'm sure at the end of the day he doesn't care. He's got his belt, whatever. So good luck to him. But I was just really disappointed for him that at the end of it, he's there with probably even less than 500 people there at the end of the fight. So that's a real shame. Hop on with Lyndon somebody. I only caught last 2 fights. I was plastered, so I'll stay quiet. That's all good, mate. That's fine. Last 2 fights. Well, look, they were good fights. Nikita's fight was obviously all fire and brimstone. But Dennis Hogan, look, it was just hard to get into the fight. I did sit there and watch it all, but it was a real hard watch because it wasn't the most exciting fight. Dennis Hogan, I will say, fought an unbelievable fight. Probably fought his career best fight to beat Sam Eggington. Did everything he was supposed to do. and you could really see the emotion on Dennis Hogan's face afterwards. As I said earlier, he worked so hard to get there, and full respect to Dennis. A really, really lovely guy as well. So I'm really happy for Dennis Hogan. And Dennis, he did say afterwards he's going to milk this as long as he can. He's got the belt now, so someone's going to want it. Probably got another good payday out there. So yeah, good luck to him, and you're a long time retired. So look, if someone wants a shot at the IBO super middleweight, was it super welterweight title or junior middleweight title, then bring it on. It's a good stepping stone for some of the other fighters out there. So good luck to him, and do what he said he's going to do and milk it for as much as he can. Mitch again, thanks for the comments, Mitch. Not sure what it looked like on TV, but probably 70% of the crowd walked out straight after Darkin's fight. For a casual Newcastle fan, they probably thought Darkin was the main event with how No Limit promoted it. Yeah, mate, that's a really good point, because the whole show was pretty much about Nikita Zoo, Dennis Hogan at the end, and in Newcastle, and that's probably the way they had to do it, is just Nikita Zoo, Nikita Zoo, Nikita Zoo, because that's what was going to sell it. Maybe No Limit knew this was going to be the case. Maybe they just knew they were going to lose a shitload of money. They factored into the budget. They factored into everything they were doing and said, look, we're probably going to lose. Look, I'm not going to say a number. I've got an idea of what I think it is. Well, probably what they would have lost on the fight. But, I don't know for sure, so I won't comment. But I know from what I'm gathering, it would have been a fair bit of money. And if that is the case where they said, we're going to put Dennis on, but we're going to lose a shitload of money by doing it, but we're going to do it because that's, as I said earlier, that's what we do, then even more kudos to No Limit. So, what do we got there? Does the IBO belt do anything for rankings? Yeah, it will. Yeah, no, for sure. Actually, I don't know how. Obviously, with the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO, if you've got one of their belts, they don't rank you in organisations. But I've got a feeling the IBO might be different. I might have to look that up. But I've got a feeling if you've got an IBO or a WBF or I don't know, is that many over about WBU, these types of belts, I'm pretty sure you do get ranked with the major bodies. So, what he's saying, yeah, so I think that's the way it works with the sort of lesser belts, that you do get ranked with the major belts. So if it is the case, you probably find he'll be top 10 with all the organisations. So who knows what can happen with that? Who knows? I doubt he's going to obviously get a shot at the Charlo and Zoo winner, but who knows? There might be a Fundora out there, Sebastian Fundora, who says, I'll fight you for your IBO belt. Who knows? Although he's probably going to wait for the mandatory after Tim and Tim and Jamel. But you got to be in it to win it. Shane, I've clicked the link earlier, but I think I need on the laptop because it's saying I have to download Google app. Yeah, you just have to have you have to be on Google, Shane. I think if you click down the bottom right hand corner, I think it says you can open with whatever app you're in. I think that's what it does. It's bottom little icon in the bottom right hand corner. But whatever, that's all good. But yeah, I think you've just got to have normal Google or whatever. I think that's the way it works. I've never had really any trouble with anyone loading it before, but see how you go. Andy again, congrats to Dennis Hogan. Still should have been WBO Super Welterweight champ despite hometown robbery in Mexico for Munguia. Yeah, it's just a shame, but I think that will all be forgotten now. It would have been great for him to get a rematch, but obviously that's not going to happen. But look, he's got his belt now, regardless of what letters it's got written on the front. He's got his world title belt, and I'm really, really happy for him. And as I said earlier, milk it for all you can and get some good paydays out there, because someone's going to want that belt for either rankings or whatever it might be. So, or maybe it's to get another big unification fight, whatever it might be. But good on Dennis Hogan. All right, well, that's it for the Super Saturday. What did you guys think? Did you enjoy it? Did you like the concept of starting at lunchtime and going right through? As I said at the start, it was probably a little bit hard for No Limit to probably get a better gauge because they couldn't have the beer gardens and the bands and all that sort of stuff. Is that Shane coming on there, is it? Let's have a look. Yeah, it is. Shane's, we'll bring you on, mate. Hang on. Let's have a look there. Shane, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Lyndon.
You're on.
How's it working?
Yeah.
So just had to follow your instruction there, mate.
You're all good?
Bottom.
So you can hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
So what did you reckon of the fight, mate, the Super Saturday? What are your thoughts?
I thought that like you, it was a long day or a long evening, but the Beacon fight was probably the highlight for me. I'd never seen him before, and so that was probably the surprise for me. Always like checking out, somebody new.
Yep. Oh, I'd never seen him either.
You hadn't either, eh? Okay.
No, I hadn't seen him fight.
I thought he boxed beautifully.
Yeah, no, I thought he did really well. I think he was sort of brought in as the opponent for Locky Higgins, but Locky Higgins, I thought, was totally outboxed by Cody. What other fights were on there? What did you think of all the girls' fights? I thought they were probably the best fights of the card.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I've been watching Dargan through her career. She fought Ashley Sims earlier on, didn't she?
Yeah,
and they drew. I thought Dargan actually won that fight against Sims.
Yep, so did I.
I think she's got a pretty good future. She's definitely game.
All the fights she's in are all fight of the years. I just probably would like to see with her is probably just, and I know it'll come. She's only had 3 or 4 fights, but just to maybe just take it down a notch rather than come out, because all the fights she's had, she's come out and just gone through it. And I wouldn't mind just seeing it. Just calm down a bit. And that'll come as she fights 6, 8, 10 rounders. But it's definitely got some ability, that's for sure.
100%. I'm just wondering whether, and I have heard people calling for 3-minute rounds for women's boxing.
What do you think?
I'd be a fan of it because the fitness is there. And somebody like Dargan, she could probably slow down in the 3-minute round.
I think Ella Boot would suit her as well, I reckon, because she seemed the type that's very well drilled. And what I said about it earlier too, it wasn't sort of having a go at her, it's just being constructive. And I think the 3 rounds would probably suit her better, because I just think she's trying a bit too hard. Sometimes you're in against opponents that you should beat, you do tend to come out, and she was punched out. Well, I thought she was gassed after probably 4 or 5. So I think the 3-minute rounds would probably suit her better, because rather than go out there and just try and go hell for leather for 2-minute rounds, she would actually be able to sit down on her punches. And who else was on there? I thought Ayesha Abiyed's probably another one that would probably good over 3-minute rounds. How good was she?
To me, she probably looked like the most pro style, if that makes sense.
She did, yeah.
Yeah,
I think she's from New Zealand, is that right?
Yeah, she was from New Zealand. First time I'd ever seen her as well, and I thought she boxed beautifully as well. She boxed on the inside, sort of pivoting off that left hook as well.
Yeah.
She was good evasive skills as well. Great head movement. Yeah, I thought she boxed beautifully.
And the other girls there, like I said earlier, Amber Amelia, really liked her, and I really liked Taiwana Campbell as well. So just some ripper young girls on there.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about the 3-minute rounds for the girls?
Look, I'll be honest with you. I still like the 2s. I just only because I just think probably like we see in the NRLW and the AFLW and all the girls that are now coming into, I suppose, male-dominated sports.
Yes,
they just have to find their way, and you find with the footy codes. The girls go out there at 100 miles an hour. They bash into each other. There's a lot of injuries, a lot of knee injuries, a lot of injuries across the board. And I just think they're not quite ready for the male equivalent, and that'll take time. And I just think boxing's the same. I know fitness-wise they could probably do it no problem, or most of them anyway. But I just think I wouldn't mind them seeing just ease into it a little bit more. The one thing I would probably like to see, though, is the world title fights be 12-2s. At least give them the 12 rounds. So this whole 10-2 stuff at the moment, I would rather see 12-2s and just take it from there. But there, look, I'm not saying wait a long time, maybe another year or 2, and then maybe look at it. But I've just got a feeling they're doing it at the moment. Do they think the fight public are ready to sit through a 10-3-minute round 3-male fights? Now I would be, but you got to put through the eyes of the average casual fan out there. Do they have the patience of sitting through? You know what I'm getting at? Are we ready? Are we ready for a 10-3 or 12-3-minute round fight with the fans?
That's right. I'm probably a bit of a hardcore fan, so yeah I am. But whether that's the other thing too, there is you might at 3-minute rounds we might not have the depth that we've got now.
Yeah.
Maybe with the 2-minute rounds, but then have it uneven rounds, so 5-round fights or 7-round fights, so we can try and take the draw out of it if we can, perhaps.
That's a really good way of looking at it. Rather than get him to fight 10 threes, whatever it might be, maybe to actually say, all right, well, we'll make him threes for starters, but we're fighting fives. I really like the idea. It was one of our talking points I brought up on one of the shows earlier in the year about why have we got, in this day and age where we've altered a lot of things and modified different things, why have we still got even rounds in fights? It should be 5, 7, 9, or whatever it might be. Maybe 12 is probably okay because it's such a long distance, but this whole actually I'll take that back. Maybe
it's not 15. So
yeah, well that's right, but maybe not. Maybe it's 10s and 12s, but before that it might be 3, 5, 7, and even probably a 7, I suppose, and then go to 10 and then 12. Oh, look, I don't know. It's a tough one, but I think you've got to go with in this day and age. We tend to modify. All the other sports tend to modify things with the way the world is these days, with attention spans and timing and everything else. So yeah, I'm with you. Maybe start with 5 threes and see what happens.
Just because some of those 2-minute rounds with the girls, they're really hard for me to judge.
Yep.
They are. Yeah. Half the fight can be swing rounds. So
well, that's the thing. You see him come out, and especially when you got Chanel Dargan involved, she just comes out. She'll just throw punches for the whole 2-minute rounds, and it's really hard when she's just throwing. It might necessarily be landing them all, and this Abiad's probably a good example where she just rode with them, did what she did, landed some good punches, but you haven't got enough time to say, well, she definitively won the round. So I'm with you. So what have we got there? Andy's with you, mate. He said, hang on, it's not coming up there. Where are we? I agree with that for the ladies too, Shane. So I'm assuming that's 3-minute rounds. So look, I wouldn't be against, just bringing in 3 rounds in total, but I just think,
it might take the depth out of it, Lyndon, perhaps. Yep. So, it might be that we've got half a dozen, high-level female fighters, and then, then there's a bit of a vacuum to the rest.
Yeah,
if we go to 3-minute rounds.
I suppose they could trial it, but the argument I've made is that, like, the girls like a Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, of course we've got Shannon O'Connell and Shanika Johnson and Ebony Bridges maybe. Actually, I don't think Ebony Bridges could probably fight 3-minute rounds, but
Shannon's doing threes. She's sparring threes anyway.
Yeah, but those real elite girls or ladies in the world, I got no doubt could handle the threes, but I'm only picking names here. Could a Chanel Dargan or a Taiwana Campbell fight 3-minute rounds? We just don't know. I suppose there's only one way to find out. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think the girls are there yet at that level. The early stages. But yeah. So what did you think before I let you go of what I said about Dennis Hogan, mate? Do you agree with like having the fight on as the main event in Newcastle when it was all about Nikita Zoo and he fought in pretty much an empty stadium?
I think it's a hard fight to sell in Australia at any rate, Lyndon. I'm wondering, and you could probably speak to this, how does No Limit put that fight on any card and turn a profit? Did they need this size card to try and help carry that fight or to carry the money involved? Yeah,
well, that's what I said. Like, I think it doesn't make sense for them to put the fight on because it just makes no money. You're right. No matter where they put it, it's not making money. I don't know what.
Not to fly him over and put him up.
And I don't know what the fighters were paid, but I'm sort of guessing. And then you've got the airfares would have been Sam Eggington plus probably four other airfares plus obviously accommodation and food and sanctioning fees. It would have been an expensive fight to put on. So,
I reckon Dennis would have probably done it just for the opportunity. So he probably would have taken his normal No Limit fight money for that
but
fight.
Sam Eggington wouldn't have. He would have had his hand out to come to Australia. So, look, that's what I said before. I take my hat off to No Limit because they knew they were never going to make any money out of it, but they put it on. But you are right. What card do they put it on? I don't think it could be on any card and actually make money. So that's probably more credit to No Limit for actually putting it on, because they could just say, well, this is not going to make us any money. Why would we put this fight on? So,
I mean, he's up my way in Brisbane. He could afford that, the Fortitude Music Hall, which is a great little venue. But it would have been the money wouldn't have been there to bring him over either. So
so I don't know. That's why I've got so much respect for No Limit, because they could easily have said, well, we're not going to make any money out of it. Just go and, we're not going to put it on. Because the only way this fight happens is if No Limit are behind it. Because you wouldn't have thought any other promoters have got the backing that No Limit have. They've obviously got all the Fox Sports money and all the rest of it. So, yeah, look, and that's why I've got even more respect for them for doing it, because it's probably shaved lots of zeros off their profit at the end. So, good luck to them.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one other part of that card, and the one before, was it? His name's forsaking me at the moment. He's got the Mad Bunch, Sam
Goodman, yeah.
Sam Goodman. He's just got a couple of little extra combos in his kick for this fight. He had that dinner box combo. I think it was the 1-2, and then the left hook, doubling that left hook up, so to the body, then to the head.
Yeah.
And he did that about 3 or 4 times. He was looking for it all night. There was that one. He had a little fade off straight right as well. So there's a little bit new from him as well. He's evolving well, I think.
Oh, mate, he's a really good fighter. And those first probably 3 or 4 rounds, I felt for Jason Cooper, because you're right, that 1-2 left hook, that was absolutely lightning fast. He wouldn't, no way he would have seen it coming. But
it was lightning. One of the way he was doubling it up as well. Bang, bang.
Just bang, bang, bang. Just a great young fighter. Look, whether he's got the power, I don't think it'll matter. I think his overall skills and that will be more than enough. But I think, as I said earlier, I just wouldn't mind seeing him. I'm looking forward to probably making a better assessment on him when we see him with the top 20 or top 15 type of fighter, because he looks really good at the moment. But you follow the sport. How many times fighters at the Oceania level or the Asian level look really good and then step up and just aren't anywhere near it?
Oh, there's 50 Mexicans that'll test him. So, yeah.
What have we got here? One more before I let you go there, Shane. Really appreciate you coming on, by the way, mate. And you're testing the waters. I hope I haven't had any messages to say it's not coming through okay, so it's all good. All right, they may have lost on this fight, but next fight they have a local champ with a belt. That may be the plan, a 2 or 3 fight plan to recoup later. I still don't know, unless he fights an Aussie, maybe... that's the only way they maybe recoup the money. But, I mean, you could fight who's out there at, what is it, super welterweight, isn't it? So, does an Isaac Harbin come down? I don't think he can make the weight. No, that wouldn't work either.
I probably don't like saying it, but I know what's going to sell, and it's him and Nikita with the Zoo name and Hogan before. And, I know that would 100% sell. But
it's a good point, because it's the only fight that could probably, at that weight, would sort of appeal. I'm just trying to think. Maybe, there's other fighters out. The problem is,
there's other fighters out there, but does it sell to everybody?
Yeah. I mean, Nikita's going to sell against whoever he fights. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's what, I must admit, when Tim went with No Limit and fought Joel Camilleri, I thought, how the hell is this going to sell a pay-per-view? I understand Tim's got the name, but back then no one knew who he was. Obviously fight fans did, but Joel Camilleri was it was fights at the Melbourne Pavilion, and to have him pay-per-view against Tim Zhu, I thought even with that last name, that's a tough sell. So I can't see it, but it went bang, and then his next fight against Brubaker went bang, and then the late great Dwight Ritchie went bang, and all of a sudden he's this pay-per-view star. So
he just blew up,
didn't he?
Yeah.
So Stevie Spark, he's light welterweight. I don't think he'd go up to junior middleweight. And I don't think even if he did, that would be a big seller anyway. I don't think. They need a pay-per-view. That's what they need. They need a pay-per-view, and you're right.
That's right.
You can do those Nikita Zoo. So,
and then, I mean, the credibility of the belt, does that come into question then? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But, mate, lots of things we could talk about. Before I let you go, I've said that a few times now. The fights this weekend, before we get into them, who wins, Kambosos or Haney?
Oh, it's going to be very hard for George.
You get the fight?
I'll get it. Yeah, but it's going to be... like all of us, I think we're all behind George 110%, but it's just going to be very, very hard.
Yeah.
He's not without a chance, but it's not a big chance in my book.
I think he'll get a lot better, or give a lot better performance this time than the last time. But whether it's enough, we'll see. But I hope so.
I think Haney's going to be very hard to beat for a long time.
Oh, I think so.
Loma. I think Loma a few years ago probably gets Haney, but whether Haney's got that style that he's just going to be very hard to beat.
I think the only one I could see maybe beating him is probably Shakur Stevenson. Could be an option.
It's interesting, that one. I haven't finalised my thoughts on that fight, but I keep thinking about it.
Similar styles.
Similar, yeah.
So obviously one's a southpaw, and who knows with Garcia whether he stays at junior welterweight or comes back to lightweight. Of course, throw Loma in there, and who else is there? Obviously Tank Davis as well. So
you got Davies, but Davies says he's going to throw away his paper. He's not going to throw away his O1. He won't take that fight.
Yeah, nah, I don't either.
No, he's fighting for big money without taking those risks.
Too much talk these days, mate, and not enough action, unfortunately. And that's why you've got to respect guys like George Kambosos. They were just saying, hey, bring him on, I'll fight whoever. Could have had an easy defence, but I'm going to take the best. So,
you got to respect him, mate.
What about Paro and Jarvis?
I've got Paro. I've got Liam. But I've been apparently Liam his American sparring has been on fire, but I tell you, that does not scare Fennick and Brock. That does not scare them. He's a monster.
Yeah, he is.
He's a big frame, Brock is.
It's funny, like we caught up with Liam in Vegas. We just ran into him over there and was talking to him. He's really, really confident. He doesn't rate, I don't think, Brock much at all, to be honest. I think he's like, he did say he's sparring. And the guy that was with him, I can't remember his name, but he's been sort of looking after him, or was looking after him in Vegas. He said, mate, he's just on fire, like you said. But I don't think Liam I think he's almost offended at the fact that Brock's got the fight against him.
I sense that.
Yeah. And his trainer obviously says the same thing. But then you look at Jeff and Brock. You're right. They wouldn't have taken this fight if they didn't think he could win. They obviously know Liam really well. So I'm really looking forward. I'm really dirty that I can't actually get up there and see it because I'm going to Kambosos and Haney on the Sunday. So obviously going up to Brisbane and then back would be too hard. Plus, I've only got a certain amount of brownie points, of course. But I would have loved to have been up there to see that fight. I couldn't picture both fighters winning, but I think depends on what fight they both come up with. I think if Liam uses his angles and his speed and his combinations and footwork and everything else and stays off the ropes, I think he can beat Brock. But tell you what, if Brock pins him on the ropes, it's pretty hard to get off there, especially with the size he is at the moment. He's going to come in the ring at probably 75 kilos.
Yeah, all of that, Lyndon. I think Paro has to, like you said, he needs to punch in combinations and cut angles. Punch and turn off, keep him moving, and see if he can somehow, break his spirit through the first 4 rounds. Somehow, really box him. I'd never like saying this, but I've got a feeling that the referee is going to have a part to play in this fight. Because if Brock gets it the way that he wants to get it, he's going to be an incredible handful.
Yeah, no, mate, that's a really good observation, actually. I didn't even sort of think of that because you're right. And it is happening with Kambosos and Haney this weekend. You see George today said he's wrapped that he's got a referee who he rates because he lets fighters fight. And the last referee, every time he got close, he was tied up. So he's happy. But you're right, because Liam's not going to want to fight on the inside with Brock. If he gets close, he's going to want to tie him up and step around him or step off to the side. Brock's going to want to pin him on the ropes and get those hands tangled up in close. So, we don't know who the referee is yet, or?
I don't know. I know the reason why I was thinking that is I know how good Brock is at avoiding the tie-up as well. He's excellent with his shoulder. He gets that shoulder in, gets that forearm up, props his opponent up, and then digs in again. So he's very good at it. He's well schooled. It's going to be a great fight. I had that loaded up onto the screen because I'm in Brisbane as well. It's only 30 minutes away from me. But my youngest son, who's he goes to all the fights with me. We're sort of in partnerships where you've got to work that night.
Oh,
and
no.
He called me into. He said, "Let's just buy it." And I was going, "Oh, mate, come on." Yeah. But
Did you have to pay for it on DAZN or?
I haven't booked it yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's free or not. I hope it's not.
I've got to re-sign up with the Zone because I've let mine lapse, but that's no worries.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's
did
only
I.
$15 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's good now. You can go month by month. It was when you first signed up. I think you had to give them 12 months. Now you can just go month by month. So I've signed up to get that fight, of course. Plus, there's a couple others. I think Stevie Sparks in November. I think Katie Taylor's coming on. There's a couple of fights there. Of course, Bivol's on there as well. So it's definitely worth having it for the next couple of months. But I'll just go month by month, I think. But
yeah, I've had a little bit of time off it as well. So I'm probably, there's probably a bit of content on there that I can go over anyway.
Yeah. Well, you got a few fans on here by the looks of things, mate. Solid point. So I think I might be turfed off my own show the way I'm going, or we might have to have you on a regular basis. Still got Paro. Props if Jarvis choose me wrong. Yeah. So lots of points there, mate.
I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to talk boxing all day long.
Well, that's what this show's for, mate. I mean, obviously it's only just sort of getting started, but the aim is to have more people sort of come on and just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So I'm glad you've at least jumped in the deep end anyway, mate. And I'm glad you know your boxing. It's good to actually talk to people that actually know what they're on about.
Well, hopefully I'll see you in Vegas for the for Tim's fight.
Yeah,
that's the game plan. We've got the kitty we're saving up, and yeah.
No, you'll love that, mate. And as I've said numerous times in here, we'll be all over there. And look, there'll be probably hundreds of, or if not maybe 1,000 or something Aussie fans over there. They'll be everywhere because if you've got Sam Goodman's bunch going over, he might have 100 there just for him, and Tim will probably have 500. You can just doesn't matter if you're with people or not. There's so much to do and see. It's an awesome experience, mate, especially for a big fight like that. So it should be good.
Well, thanks for having me, and I hope it all works well for everyone watching. That the link and it all works out okay.
All good, mate. We might see you again.
Thanks ever so much.
Keep watching.
I will do, 100%.
See you, mate. All right, that was Shane. Thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate that. And if anyone else wants to come on, of course, the link is there. Jay Brown again. Brock's last fight, the ref maybe should have stopped it. He let it go and stopped Brock's opponent. I think much in favour, Liam. Yeah, geez, he was really lucky in that fight, wasn't he? And there would have been no arguments if the referee had stopped it. I think if it had been the other way around, it definitely would have been stopped. But, what does a referee do in that situation? You've got a Mexican journeyman fighting this hot shot from Australia who's a matchroom boy. Shit, you can just sort of see the referee saying, what am I going to do here? So he let it go, and Brock, with being the class fighter that he is, got him out of there. So it's a sign of a good fighter that he was able to overcome that and got the win. So good on Brock for that one. But yeah, I'm with you. So Matchroom, now they're both with Matchroom, aren't they? So I don't think it's really going to favour either one. So I don't think that'll come into it. But I can understand that Matchroom wanted to put this fight on to make a big splash in Australia, and I think they will. Thanks, Andy. Champion Shane. Yep, it was, and really good of Shane to break the ice there, to get us sort of moving on this new sort of concept we're trying to bring in. You're out there, you can see it's not that hard, just having a chat about a few things. I know it might be a little bit daunting coming on for the first time, but, if you want to come on, just hit the link and come on and we'll chat about whatever you want to talk about. Tara, what have we got there? And that was awesome, Shane. So you got some fans out there, Shane. If the ref has anything to do with the end result and it's not in Brock's favour, that ref would want to get out of the venue fast. No one would want to be in Jeff's firing line. Yes, well, 100%. We've seen Jeff in action a couple of times, and you don't want to get him upset. So who knows what might happen? But yeah, I think let's hope there's no controversy involved, because Jeff's obviously close to the DiCarlo family, who obviously looks after Liam Paro. So let's just hope everyone behaves himself. Yep, but Liam is ranked high. Yeah, he is, mate. He's ranked number 2. Now, that's the other thing. He was ranked number 1. I actually asked him about this when I saw him in Vegas. I said, mate, how'd you go from, ranked number 1 by the WBO? You haven't lost the fight. Teofimo Lopez comes in and has one fight that he definitely should have won anyway, and goes above Liam in the ratings. I don't understand that. Liam just sort of shook his head and shrugged his shoulders and said, well, what are you going to do? So maybe he knows a little bit more than what he was saying. But, yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I can see what you're saying there about rankings. But I think, to be honest with you, I would think Matchroom would be looking at Brock as being the more marketable fighter. Now, I might open a bit of a can of worms here. Liam is, I think, is technically the better fighter. I think he's obviously got more experience. I think he definitely deserves where he is and what's maybe coming. But Brock, obviously having Jeff behind him helps. But he's a good-looking kid. He's got the physique and fights like Jeff did. I think he might be a little bit more marketable. The only thing I would say that Brock probably hasn't got that I don't think is going to improve is the speech. He just needs to find himself a little bit more with the confidence factor on camera. But it's coming. I'm sure that will Matchroom having someone like them behind him will get him some media training as well. But apart from that, I think Brock would be more marketable in the States. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe that's why I don't think Liam being ranked higher matters to Matchroom. I mean, you got to remember they've got probably hundreds of fighters on the books. They just want the best fights. And if you're good enough, you're good enough, and if you're not, you're not. So I don't think it'll matter with that. I think Eddie Hearn will say, well, if Liam loses, well, it just means Brock moves up and takes his spot, and they've got the next young Aussie kid to look at. So, and Liam will then have to go back down and rebuild. So, it's a cruel game sometimes. Good points, Jay and Tara. How about some good points made by me, Andy? I'm just joking. But good to have as many comments as we can get. Maybe Andy, you'll come on here one day. What have you got there, mate? You forgot to ask Benny H last week. What's next for Liam Wilson? Yeah, good question. I was hoping maybe he might come on. I know there's some other boxing sites with live streams tonight as well, so maybe he's watching that one. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. He's not injured, I don't think. There hasn't really been much said about Liam, I don't think. I do sort of watch his social media closely. I don't think anything's really been said. So he was at the fights the other night. But to me, didn't really look like he was in fighting nick. Maybe I was wrong, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to ask Ben if he comes on next week. Who's next for Liam? I'm sure there's something in the wings for him. But I think Liam's had a pretty tough year, so I wouldn't be surprised if they say to him as well, let's put you in cotton wool until early next year as well. Maybe he goes to Vegas as well. Who knows? It's an interesting one. But and on that too, I've got a feeling that part of the agreement with Tim being on the obviously with Charlo that one of the conditions would be that No Limit are allowed to have at least one fighter on the undercard. That's the way these things work. You'll see it this weekend on the Kambosos Haney card. There'll be probably 2 or 3 American fighters on there that are from that stable or that promotional firm, whatever it might be. So they'll get them on as part of the contract deal to get them some exposure and all the rest of it. So that was obviously the case with Sam Goodman. I would have thought if it was one fighter, they've obviously put forward Sam Goodman. But, geez, if there was another spot, how good would it be to have Liam Wilson on that card as well? And it just makes sense. I would have thought it sort of pumps up even more pay-per-views back in Australia to have a couple of Aussies on the card, and obviously get more over there. But anyway, you're a champion too, Lyndon. Well, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. No, I really appreciate that, Andy. I was only sort of joking. It's appreciate all you guys out there that are watching. We spent most of the night on the Super Saturday and obviously talking to Shane, which was great. Let's get on to this weekend's massive cards. Now, what I'm going to do is bring up the cards on BoxRec so we can all see what's going on. This is this Saturday night. This is the Paro Jarvis card, so you can see there. And what an awesome card that it is. So we'll start down the bottom. Hang on, before we got there. All right. All the super featherweight belts are vacant now with Shakur missing weight. Yeah, good call, Jay. Would he be eyeing off a step towards those? Yeah, maybe. That is. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm not quite sure where he's rated at the moment. He might be. I did have all this in front of me on another show. He might be. I think he's in the top 15 with a couple of them. I think so. Maybe. No Limit will be probably working behind the scenes. I think he's. I'm not sure he's 100% ready now, but he might be 95%. So, and maybe you're never 100% ready. I don't know. So I think if a belt opportunity came up, I think they'd take it, and I wouldn't blame him. I'd be taking it too. Whether he's not quite right or he is, just take it because you might never get a chance again. So with all those belts being vacant, anything can happen. So let's see. Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope that is the case. All right, so let's have a look at the fights this week. Jalen Tate, good young kid, 9-0. He's fighting Reese Evans, making his debut. Well, I could probably guess who's going to be the favourite in that one. Dylan Biggs. Oh, hang on. We'll just go back to Jay there. Number 4 on the WBO, that's Liam Wilson. I had no idea, mate. I thought he was ranked in the 15, but number 4. I wasn't aware of that. I haven't checked the latest rankings for probably about 3 weeks now. So that is amazing. Well, there you go. You never know your luck, especially if the 3 above him, or 2 of the 3 above him, are also ranked with some of the other organisations and choose to fight for their titles. You never know, he might get an opportunity against 1 to 3, or even number 5. He might get an opportunity to fight. So let's hope so. All right, so we've got Dylan Biggs, 6-0 against Mirko Pisa, 4-2. I think Dylan Biggs is the American. Sorry, not the American. Hang on, let's have a look. I just want to see where he's from. He's from Australia. There you go. I didn't know that. Dylan Biggs. There he is right there. 6-0. Mirko Pizzi for the Australasian Super Welterweight title. He's from Australia as well. So there you go. He is... All right. Okay, that's his record there. That's enough for that one. Looking forward to this one. Sky Nicholson, 4-0. Christina Jacobs, 6-3. This won't be too bad of a fight. I think Sky Nicholson will win quite comfortably, but Christina Mousy Jacobs, she comes to fight all the time. She did hold the WIBA title, which was taken from her by Beck Hawker. The big fight, I'm telling you, that we've got to see down the track, though, is Sky Nicholson and Beck Hawker. That would be a perler. That one would be. And some of the other girls that we mentioned earlier would be as well. But I can just see Sky Nicholson and Beck Hawker on a collision course at some stage. I think it would be awesome. So this is for the Commonwealth Featherweight title. So we'll see what happens there. Again, I expect Sky Nicholson to win that quite comfortably. I think she's definitely a world champion in the making. All class is Sky Nicholson. Rocky Ogden, 2-0 against Ben Cameron Hands, 3-0 for the Australian Super Featherweight title. Again, will be a really good fight. I'm a big fan of Cameron Hands, but Rocky Ogden's not a bad young kid as well. And then into the 3 sort of main fights, Dempsey Mckeon, 21-0 against Patrick Corte, Corte 18-1-1. So that should be a ripper as well. Really looking forward to seeing how Dempsey Mckeon goes against Patrick Corte. It's probably the better, or one of the best fighters that he's fought. How good would it have been if they had to put Lucas Brand in with Dempsey Mckeon on this card as well? It would have been awesome. And we all know what's happened with Lucas Brand recently. A 43-year-old being told he's too old to fight or in England, when they've got guys that are late 40s fighting. I don't get it. I'm sure there's more to it, but anyway, it's a different story. But geez, that fight would have been great with Dempsey and Lucas, but who knows, maybe that's next. That would be a really good headliner for the next Matchroom show, I think. What do you guys think? Abdullah Mayweather, Matteo Tapia. This will be a ripper. Mayweather 7-0, Tapia 14-0. Looking forward to this one. Geez, they've really rolled out some really good fights for this card. So if you're up in the air, I'm not sure you have to pay for it. I don't think you do, but if you did, I'd be paying the $60 for this, no problem. And then into the main event, Tapia I think will win that one, by the way. And into the main event, Liam Paro, Brock Jarvis, WBO Global Super Lightweight title. Whatever title it's for with the WBO, this is for rankings. Paro's obviously already number 2. Brock Jarvis, if he wins, will probably jump into the top 2 or 3. So massive stakes for both fighters. Andy, what do you got there, mate? Sky is coming along in leaps and bounds. She is, as I said, I just think she's a world champion for sure. And I'm sure Beck Hawker will have something to say about that with her WIBA title. But geez, even that would be a ripper fight to have on a Matchroom card. Especially now that Matchroom is aligned with Ace Boxing, so which is the Carlos. So let's see what happens there. All right, so into the main event. So Liam Paro, Brock Jarvis, we're going for 12 3-minute rounds. First time, I think. I'm not sure whether Liam's been 12 rounds before. Definitely Brock hasn't. Let's have a look at Liam. He hasn't been in a scheduled 12 round fight before. A lot of 10s in there. So he really went from 5 to 10. So he made the jump pretty quick back in 2018. So you can see there, it's coming off the 10-round win over Yoma Alamo 10 months ago. So he's been out for a little while. Before that, he was actually quite active. Let's have a look at Brock. Now he hasn't fought. When was the date? It's been a long time. So it's been a year. Geez, that's gone quick. It just seems like yesterday I was watching that. So Alejandro Frias Rodriguez stopped him in 5. Real, tough fight for Brock that was. So it's probably not a bad thing to pull him out, give him a bit of rest, get a bit more experience into him. And because before that, you can see the weights there. 129 and a half for the Beauchamp fight, 134 and 3/4 against Rodriguez. This one's at 140. So in the space of a couple of fights, he's jumped up 10 pounds, which is nearly 5 kilos. So it's a fair bit of weight, and he'll probably come in at 75 kilos, you would think. So that's Brock. Really like the body language and everything coming out of the camps of both of these guys because, out of the mouths of both camps. Because I just think both fighters are primed to really put on a show here, and the only ones that benefit out of that is us. This is back to Lucas Brown. Was hoping that Far Demolition would have given Big Daddy another shot at good dollars. Well, it was looking good for him, mate, but unfortunately the British Board of Control have skittled that idea. He would have been well paid, probably would have got a couple $100,000 for fighting over in England. And he's coming off 2 really good wins. Why they would say he's not eligible to fight Daniel Dubois is just beyond me. 2 good wins, he's only 43. I just don't get it. There's got to be something else going on there that we don't know about because I just can't see any reason why they wouldn't let Big Daddy fight. But yeah, look, the other thing he might have done, Andy, is scare some of these guys off. I mean, that fight against Far, I mean, he was supposed to be finished with Lucas Brown. That definitely wasn't, Lucas Brown wasn't supposed to win that fight. That was supposed to be Junior Far's coming out party. And look what happened. So, I really hope he gets another big fight. I really do. Keeps himself in shape, always looking to fight whoever. So who knows, maybe Justice Hoodie might be one they might look at fighting, or as I said earlier, Dempsey Mckeon will make the most sense. Dempsey versus Lucas Brown on the next Matchroom show makes all the sense in the world. I would expect Dempsey Mckeon to win this fight quite comfortably and maybe back up within 3 or 4 months to maybe fight Lucas Brown, but we'll see. But I really feel for Lucas Brown. There's nothing worse than when you put in the camps and it gets bowled over and you've got nowhere else to go. So I was hoping he'd get that payday too, Andy, but you never know. Big fights are just around the corner. Now, predictions, again, as I said earlier, I just think depends on what fight both fighters fight and who allows the other one to have their way. Now, what I mean by that, if Liam lets Brock bully him and crowd him in close, even though Liam Paro's the bigger man, naturally bigger man, he's been at junior welterweight for a long time. Jarvis is coming up those 2 or 3 divisions in a really short amount of time. I think when you get in the ring, you'll be really surprised at how much bigger Jarvis looks than Liam Paro. He's an absolute monster. I think we'll weigh in at 60. I think it's 63.5 kilos. So 140 pound for Jarvis. Don't be surprised if he gets in there at 155, which is about 70 kilos on the night. It might even be more. It might be 72, 73 kilos. Paro, I don't think he'll bulk up that much. He'll probably, maybe put on 3 or 4 kilos tops, I would think. But Jarvis could be twice that. So I think Jarvis will be the bigger man. And if Paro lets Jarvis put him on the ropes and keep him there, because Brock loves to keep those guys. That's the way Jeff's taught him. That's the way Jeff fought as well. When you've got him in the corner or the ropes, you do not let them off. And the way he positions his legs, you'll see in close, that he just takes a little step to the side just to widen his stance, so he can control the action a little bit more and don't let his opponent pivot off or step off to the side. He widens the stance so he has full control of his opponent, and he puts that left shoulder in close and his head on the shoulder, and he just keeps him there, and he rips and hooks and uppercuts until he just gets him out of there. So if Liam lets him do that, I see Brock winning. If Liam, on the other hand, keeps the fight in the centre of the ring, keeps off the ropes, keeps Brock at distance with his hands, and if he gets close, ties him up and gets back to centre ring, I think Liam wins. So if I'm forced to make a prediction, I'm going to go for Liam Paro in a 12-round decision. It'll probably be close-ish, I'd say, but I'm going to go for Liam Paro by 12-round decision if I'm forced to make a prediction. Who are you guys thinking? Put it in the description there. Happy to hear what you guys have to say. But for me, as I said, Liam Paro 12-round decision. Andy, Lucas versus Dempsey. And that's next Matchroom in Oz does make sense. Makes 100% to me. And look, if I was Eddie Hearn sitting back, he'd be across everything that goes on in the boxing world, especially in England, of course, where the Dubois thing's sort of taken place. Surely he's looking at something saying, okay, well, this is Liam Paro and Brock Jarvis's sort of coming out party. Dempsey Mckeon's on the undercard. The next thing is to elevate them up and put Mckeon as the main event. Tapia, or the winner of Tapia Mayweather, I don't think is there just yet. I think they'll want to put some more fighters in with Tapia, get him up to 18, 19, 20 and 0 before they start stepping him up. The other one, as I said, is Sky Nicholson. I've got no doubt they're going to elevate her really quick. I wouldn't be surprised if she fights for a world title within the next 12 months after 7 or 8 fights. That's just what I think. She's good enough to win it. Again, who better? Look, a big stepping stone would be that Beck Hawker fight. The WIBA title, I know it's not one of the 4 main ones like the IBO or it was with Dennis, but it's still a belt, still the world title. I think that makes more sense than anything. Maybe we might have a double header. It might be a Sky and Beck, and we have Mckeon and Lucas Brown. I would love to see that. They've got so many options though in Australia, because even though No Limit seemed to, and DNL have also taken, and Tasman Fighters of course, have taken a lot of those really good fighters out. There's still plenty around there to be taken, to build on, and some great fighters out there. And that's why, how good is it to have pretty much 3 entities in Australia that have access to TV and pay-per-view and everything else. I mean, Jeff Fennick said it on the telecast on Saturday night that he's never seen Australian boxing better, and I've been saying it for ages. I get a bit of pushback from my co-hosts on the shows, but I really think Australian boxing has never ever been in a better position. I really don't, as far as opportunities goes and just talent. So that's again my opinion. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. So that's that card. Let's go to the next card, which is actually we'll quickly. When's that? That's Saturday night as well. That's Wildfighter again. So that's Blake Wells and Silvani Nawai. You remember Silvani Nawai actually got stopped by Michael Zarafa. He's been stopped by Manuel Carlos as well. So that's this week on Wildfighter's show in Bairnsdale. Have heard whispers that Blake Wells might be in line to fight Jade Mitchell at some stage as well. So we'll see what happens there. That fight has been talked about for a little while as well. So that could be a good one. And then we go to Sunday. There's the card there. Big day. What do we got here? Hang on. Jay with another comment. It would be boring to watch, but the way Haney fought Kambosos in the first fight would work for Liam. Yeah, it would. It would be a boring fight, I think, mate. But yeah, if he fights that way, I think Liam gets the job done. I just back him. Don't know. Just call it a gut feeling that he's just not going to let Brock pin him on the ropes and keep him there. I don't think. I think I'd be telling him the game plan: center of the ring at all costs. Take center ring. If he comes in close, you tie him up or spin him. But you do not let your back get to the ropes or in the corner. And if it does, you hang on for dear life and get the hell out of there. So, and again, it comes back to the referee, whether they allow that. All different factors, but again, my gut feel is Liam just has the ring generalship to just to get the job done against Brock. Even though I'm a massive fan of Brock and, of course, Jeff. So, doing it totally unbiased. So, let's get to what will be a massive day of fights. Look at the rounds there. We've got 18, 16, 34, 44, 54, 64, 74, 76, 78 rounds, if you will, for the day. So you may as well say it's 8 hours worth of boxing. Now, the main fight is supposed to be on at 1:40. The prelims start at 9. So if you do your sums, there's no way they're going to fit all the fights on before Haney and Kambosos. So I think they'll do what they did earlier in the year and put some fights on afterwards. I really hope it's not Andy Maloney again or Jason Maloney, either one of them. Because you remember last time Andy's fight was on after the main event, and when the venue's pretty much empty, I really felt for Andy, and I would hate to see that, especially because he's coming against a pretty good credentialed guy. Jason's fighting Noah Fine Kali Khanha, I think that's how you pronounce it, 56-1-1. Norberto Jimenez, who Andy's fighting, is 31-9-6. The other big fight on that card, of course, is Shanika Johnson, Susie Ramadan. So let's go through them. So you got David Nyika, the Kiwi, with a 6-rounder against Tito Matasuga. I think he's a Kiwi as well. This is obviously should be so 2 Kiwis fighting each other, both 4-0. You'd think Nyika would be the favourite in that one. Another fighter here I know really well, John Manu. He's only just got back from Canada. 6-0-1. Now I'm really wrapped in this fight. He's fighting Adrian Sosa. Now he's from the States. 12-0. Don't get too caught up in the record though, because if I click on his record, you'll see what I'm talking about. So 12-0 with 9 KOs. Look at the records of the guys fought. The last one was 15-24-1. You can see there 4-6, 10-10, 6-32, 3-9. This guy looks okay. 7-0, 4-5. But you get the gist. 11-9, 0-1, 0-10. There you go. and 0-3. So don't get all caught up in that. I'm sure John and Bryce Birtwhistle won't either. Very good trainer. John's a very, very good young talent, and I think he can go a long way. And I really applaud him for taking on this fight, because I would think that he's been brought in as the opponent for the coming out party for Adrian Sosa, being the American prospect. But I think John Manu will upset Sosa and cause the upset. Without even seeing Sosa fight, I'm that confident in John Manu. I reckon he can get the job done. The next one, didn't know about this one. This is Amari Jones, another American, I think he is. Yep, American, 7-0 with 7 KOs. You can see there, yeah, same thing, 3-10. Or Ankle Shooter, yeah, okay, I wasn't aware of that. He really made a mess of Ankle Shooter when he fought him last time, so that will be a tough one. But geez, if you wanted a really good, tough, durable fighter, an Aussie fighter here, then great pick in Tej Singh, because he's as durable as they come. 16-5-3. Had that disputed decision against Isaac Hardman. He had another one with Sam Solomon. Really good fighter, and very, very, very awkward. But I don't think Amari Jones is going to get his 8th knockout against Tej Singh. I think by what I saw against him against Ankle Shooter, he'll win that one, but it won't be easy. Tej Singh will give as good as he gets, and I think that will be a really good fight. On to the next one. These guys I know a little bit about. So Himi Ayo, I think that's pronounced it, or Ohio, 19-0, 14 KOs. Last time he was here, he had the stoppage of Christian Zoy, but before that, it was he fought Julius Long as well. So when was that? Back in 2021. So beaten him a couple of times. So he's obviously a prospect. They want a win for on Aussie soil. Django Opalu, trained by good mates up there, Luke Melton and Steve Dalla up at Fortitude. He lost his last fight to Lucas Brown, but he always comes to fight, and he'll put up a really good fight there. You would think that AO will get the win there. Again, he's the prospect, the American one they wanted on this card to showcase, so you would think he will be good for a win over Django, but Django always comes to fight, so anything's possible there, and he can punch. Then we've got Lorenzo Simpson, 11-0. Again, another American fighter on the card, 11-0, 7 KOs. Fighting Marcus Haywood. You can see there, what is he, 6-4-1. Where's he from? I don't think I've heard of him before. Where's he from? Oh, New Zealand. Okay, that's why I haven't heard of him. 6-4-1. So you would think that he's being brought in to make Lorenzo Simpson look good, I would think. All right, so then we get on to the main card. Really, really looking forward to these fights. I don't know what order they're going to be. I would hope that you would maybe have Andrew Maloney, his fight first, then you would have the Johnson-Ramadan fight, and then you would have Jason Maloney, and then you would have Devin Haney, Kambosos, but who knows? So look, I haven't seen a lot of the opponents that the Maloney boys are fighting. I've just sort of delved into the records a little bit. What I will say, if you look here, Norberto Jimenez, 31-9-6, but you look down the bottom here at his record, lost a lot of fights early in his career. But if you look as he goes on, he's only lost the one fight later, and he had the draw as he goes on there. I think I worked out he'd won 28 fights or something in a draw, or 2 draws, or whatever it was. So that one loss was for the world title against Khalid Yafi, or whatever you pronounce it. So good credentials there. That'll be a good one for Andy. Hopefully he'll get a world title shot this year. And Jason, well, his opponents only had that one loss, but from Thailand. So don't be sucked in by some of the ties that are being brought out to Australia. This guy can fight, as you can see there. The one loss was for the world title as well. That was back in, 2017, where he lost to Juan Hernandez Navarrete in Bangkok. Stopped in 3 rounds, but as you can see there, has piled on a lot of wins since then to get back into consideration. So that should be a really good fight for Andy. And then, of course, I would say it's just a shame it's in the same year. The second biggest, I think, women's fight that I've ever seen is Shanika Johnson, Susie Ramadan. It wasn't for Ebony Bridges and Shannon O'Connell. It would obviously be the biggest fight of the year for the females. Now, this is an interesting one. I know a lot about both girls. I've promoted both girls. Shanika Johnson, 14-1. Her only loss was to Shannon O'Connell. Now, she's just parted ways with Sam LeBrun, who has had some health issues. I'm not quite sure who is her trainer. I have heard that she hasn't really got a recognised trainer. I'm not sure, but that's her camp, so she's in charge of that. Susie Ramadan, trained by Lim Jekka, who I know Lim very well. One of the best in the business is Lim, and he'll have her ready. This is an interesting fight because you've got Shanika Johnson, who's younger. She's heavier. She's naturally that super bantamweight. Susan Ramadan, former two-time world champion. She has won some minor belts, but the two recognised belts she's won. But going up in weight, so she's got the experience, but she's conceding a lot of weight to Shanika Johnson. So it's a really interesting fight. Look, it's a tough one to call. Susie Ramadan, again, with the experience, her work rate's very high. I'm not quite sure whether Shanika will handle that. So, I'll just be plucking straws if I'm going to pick one, but I'm going to go with Susie Ramadan to cause the upset by her experience and work rate to upset Shanika Johnson and take her IBF super bantamweight title. But I don't say it with a lot of confidence. It could go either way, and we'll have to wait and see. And then, of course, we get on to the main fight, which is, of course, George Kambosos Jr. against Devin Haney, the rematch. Who wins and why? Look, obviously, like everybody... Oh, sorry, I've lost a comment there. Sorry, Andy. That after main event idea seems bloody pointless, in my opinion. Yeah, it's... Look, I know the reason they do it, Andy, is because they've got all these fighters. They've got contractual obligations to get on. The promoters would want the Aussie element, so the Maloneys and the girls fight. I've got no doubt there would have been some extra coin in it for the promoters by putting the girls' world title fight on. There's big dollars out there from the government as far as funding to put a female events on, which is great. Gives these girls an opportunity to fight on the big stage and earn some good coin, so I like that. But then you've got the obligations to the other promotions involved. They would want their different fighters on to give them fight. They've got a contract obligation to fulfill for their fighters, so they want to get their fighters on. They obviously want them on a big card as well. So lots of factors that come in. So they've got to have all these fighters on, and obviously they can't do it when the card starts at the main fight starts at 1:40. They can't go any earlier than 9 o'clock. We face the same thing remember when Manny Pacquiao come to fight Jeff Horn? I think they started the fights at like 8 o'clock in the morning. It was way too early. But the main event was on at about 2:30, I think, from memory. So they had a little bit extra time. This is 1:40, and we're starting at 9. So because you've got all those fighters in there that they've got to get on for to fulfill the contracts. That's why they've got to put them on. But why not have a couple of the lesser lights on after the main card? Should be the two, obviously the main event, the two Maloneys and Shanika Johnson and Ramadan, and that would be, so Jason's fight is a 12, Andy's fight's a 10, so 20, that's 32 rounds there, and then the main event, that makes sense, and then have all those other fights on afterwards. But I'm not sure whether they've, again, contracts say that they've got to have them on the TV portion of it, who knows, but that's the reason why they've done it, mate. They haven't done it just to confuse us or whatever. I just hope, to be honest with you, that main event actually show all the fights, including afterwards. Now, I wasn't here for the first one. I didn't see any of the card except for the main event and Jason's fight. That's all they showed in the States. I'll be hoping, though, that main event do then show whatever fights haven't been televised and they're on afterwards, they actually get an opportunity to keep viewing. Put it on maybe the free portion of it, put it back to Fox Sports, so we get an opportunity to watch these guys. So now I have heard too that ticket sales probably haven't been as massive as they expected. I don't know about you guys, again, correct me if I'm wrong. The build up to this one and the exposure and the media attention has been, for me, out of 10, probably a 1, maybe a 2. The last fight that they had, it was everywhere. The mainstream media were all over it. Social media channels were all over it. It was all over the ads on pay TV or Foxtel. This, of course, George was out there, and Devin, and they had a lot to say to each other, especially George was out there promoting the fight. I haven't seen anything this time. Now, I know George has deliberately kept it that way. He doesn't want to put himself out there for as much exposure, and that's one thing I was really hoping he would do, so I'm glad he's done it. Haney's been pretty much non-existent as well. We haven't seen anything from him, and we've got 1 week to go, so I'm hoping we get a flood of ticket sales in the last week. I'm sure they'll flood the Foxtel to sell the pay-per-views. But, geez, I hope we don't get down there and we don't have a full stadium. It's only a 12 to 15,000 seat arena, is Rod Laver. So, I don't know if I'm missing something, but I'm all over the social media and the mainstream. And compared to the last time, he's been pretty much non-existent. So let's hope it changes this week. George not being the A side, he doesn't care if he sells it or not. Yeah, that's good, Jay. And as I said, mate, I'm really glad that he's taken that approach. He's like, well, he's the champion. Let him push the fight. And I remember we commented on this leading up to the fight. I remember saying, I hope all this media that George has done and all the appearances and everything that he's done doesn't take away his focus from what's the job at hand. And obviously that was the case. So this time I'm hoping he just says, look, like you said there, it's it's your card, you sell it. I'm not going to be out there. So I really welcome. He would have contract obligations to be certain. I'm sure they'll have a press conference this week, maybe a couple, I don't know. So you'll have to make some appearances there. But I really like the fact that George has said, no, this whole living in the gym thing. He's got his bed, his TV, and a book. And that's all he's got. I love it. And that's why I think this time you're going to see a totally different fight. Might not change the result, but I think we're going to see a different fight. Rowan, good to have you on here, mate. Thanks for commenting. Hang on, I've got rid of your comment there. No need of a fight week press conference or public workout either. Been no advertising at all. Yeah, well, you remember last time there was the open workout, there was the press conferences, there was all the stuff in Federation Square in Melbourne. As I said earlier, mainstream news were all over it. All the social media guys. It's just going to come late. Maybe this time, all the main social media channels in Australia will, they'll all hit Melbourne this week. We've got a lot to get over, by the way. You've got to remember Paro and Jarvis is on this week as well. So there's lots of, and they're just getting over the Super Saturday thing as well. So a lot going on. So, but even today, what's today, Monday, and we just still haven't, there's been nothing. I'm getting the ads sort of come on intermittently, but it's not really making me, if I wasn't going, to actually hit the buy button. So, yeah, I don't know about the public workout, Rowan. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have it. There will be a press conference, I would say, a final one, and that might even be, I would say they'll probably have it Wednesday, worst case Thursday, I would think, for that one, and then that'll be it. They'll obviously have the weigh-in on Saturday. But, yeah, I hope we don't get down there and... no news, not need. So no news of a fight week press conference. Yeah, I've seen nothing yet, mate. And normally with these bigger fights too, the promotional company will come out with a fight week schedule. So they'll come out with everything that's going on for the week. So if you're in town for the fight, you know where the workouts are, you know where the weigh-ins are, you know where the press conference is, all the rest of it. But so far, nothing. Jay, you sound like you're on the ball. They have an open workout Thursday at the Yarra near Crown, subject to weather. So that'll be not Federation Square, down near the Dara. Okay, there is an area down there. They had the AFL Grand Final parade down near that way last time. So, so that probably makes sense. However, the weather. I'm looking at the weather now. I don't think it's going to be very good, guys. We just had it obviously in Newcastle. I think we're going to get it this week in Melbourne. That's why I never do anything outside in Melbourne, I can tell you. All right, so it's not coming up. Oh, yeah, there we go. Friday, 50% chance of rain, 18 degrees. So they might just not chance it, and they'll just do it inside, I would think. Just have the open workout there and not have it at all. All right, Friday's press conference at Rod Laver, 11 to 1. Jay, we need to get you on here more often, mate. You got the ear to the ground. Maybe it's just been released and I haven't seen it today. But thanks for putting it up there, mate. So Queensbury Square, I'm not sure exactly where that is, but I'd say it's in the vicinity of Melbourne Park. So that's the press conference, 11 to 1. Well, that surprised me that it's so close to the fight, 2 days out. I would think that it might have been Thursday, if not even Wednesday, just to get it out the road. But I'm assuming they want to get the pay-per-views up. So 11:30 to 1:30. Thanks, Jay. Really appreciate that, mate. So if you're in Melbourne, you're at the fight. There you go. So you got the press conference 11:30 to 1:30 on Friday. Weigh-in will be Saturday, and the open workout. When was that? On Thursday, subject to weather. So. Yeah, who do I think wins and why? As I said, guys, I think that George will put on a lot better performance this time. I think you'll see a George that's probably more closer to the fighter that fought Teofimo Lopez, but will it be enough is the big question. I personally don't think it will be. I hate to say it. We all want George to win. I just think he'll be more aggressive. I think he'll be allowed to fight more inside. You would have heard me say earlier that the referee that's been chosen is someone that George is really happy with because he lets these guys fight on the inside and doesn't let them tie up too much and be separated. So that's an advantage for George. But has he got the ability to change it so drastically, the game plan to combat what Devin Haney's going to bring? Devin Haney's going to be more... probably better than he was the first time as well. We're all assuming George will be better, but Devin will obviously be better as well. I just don't think it'll be enough. I think he'll, as I said, give a lot better account, and the fight will be maybe a lot closer. But I just think Devin Haney does enough to win another unanimous decision. The weigh-in, Saturday from 10 till 12. Yep, that sounds about right, mate. It's normally about 24 hours. So I'm assuming will be at the stadium because of the weather and everything else. And I'm sure that'll all be released on the social media channels, Australian Boxing Central or Oz Boxing. I'm sure we'll have all that, or obviously Top Rank or whoever, George himself will probably put it up. So if you're in Melbourne for it, should be plenty to see and do. I'm going to go down to the weigh-in on Saturday, and then of course I'll be at the fight on Sunday as well. So I'll try and get as much footage as I can. Although I'm going to be there more so to watch the fights rather than be doing any other stuff for it. So it should be a good weekend. Just quickly, guys. On the world stuff before we finish up, you would have seen the Chris Eubank Conor Benn thing. There's talk that Conor Benn, if the B sample is proven to be positive, that he could be suspended up to 4 years. I've got a really, even if he's cleared, I've got a real gut feeling this fight's not going to happen. I don't know why. I've got no proof, just a gut feeling. I think that the fight will now be scuttled and they'll both go their separate ways. The thing is interesting. A thing I did see was that, from what they're saying, is the allegations are that the fight was all set to go ahead, even though both camps knew of the positive test. The only reason it was called off is because the press got wind of it, or the media got wind of it, and went with the story, and the promoters had no choice but to then postpone the event. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? That if the media hadn't found out, the fight would have went ahead as scheduled. No one would have been the wiser. Eubank obviously would have had his hand out for more money or whatever it might have been. Or both camps were happy to go along with it. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But as I said, just a gut feeling. I just don't think the fight goes ahead. I don't know why. Before I keep going on that, Andy, with your comment there, Phil Dev went with his bread and butter to get that W, but look to make a statement, stop George, but hoping George catches him with a counter. I'm just not sure he's got the power, Andy. I think George will be a lot more aggressive. I hope he's a lot more aggressive and really takes it to Devin. I just don't think he's got the power. I really don't. He's only had the 10 KOs in 20 wins, so I just don't think he's got that there to... I don't think he's got the ability, or Haney's got more than ability to be caught more than once or twice with some really good shots, especially at the one time. So I just think George might land a couple of good shots, but Devin's got the ability to tie him up. You haven't really seen Devin rock too many times in his career. I just don't think, as I said, George has got the power to do it. Hopefully I'm wrong. I just think, even if he does land a few good punches, that Devin's got the tools to cope with whatever he puts on, or George puts on him, but I hope I'm wrong. Really hoping for an upset. No excuse for Conor. I'm assuming you mean... sorry. I'm thinking Chris Eubank was the one that... no excuse, mate. No excuse whatsoever. I don't know why he's taking female hormones or testosterone, not testosterone, whatever it was, the hormones for females. I have done a little bit of research on it. Now, what apparently it is, it's clometidine or something it's called. Now, what that apparently does is mask other stimulants. So that's why, because I remember thinking, why the hell would he be taking female hormone tablets, whatever the hell they are? That's why, because it masks other stuff that he might be taking. But you're right, no excuses. And if he does get caught, well, he's got to deal with the consequences. If he's out for 4 years, you may as well say his career's pretty much over. He'll be probably pushing 30 when he's finished, or when he comes back. Of course, there might be appeals and everything else, but either way, I don't think he's endeared himself well to the boxing fans, and And I think the other thing that's happened is Eubank's actually come out, the good guy, because he's actually come out and made the weight the next day. The contracted weight he was supposed to be on, which I think was 160 on the day of the fight, he weighed in at 159.3 the morning of the fight. Looked a bit drained, but he still made the weight. So I think he was just doing that to show that, hey, I've done the right thing, and I think he's gained a lot of fans because of it. Conor Ben, on the other hand, has lost a lot of fans. So, yeah, it's disappointing. What rumours you got there, mate? So that's why Eubank Senior didn't want that fight. Well, it could be, mate. He didn't actually come out and say why he didn't want it, except he was... I think his excuse whether he was concerned about the welfare of Chris using all... Eubank Jr. losing all that weight, but didn't make sense because obviously they would have known the stipulations before they signed the contract. So that didn't hold water for me. So maybe they knew something that we didn't, and that's the reason why. So... yeah, so anyway, we'll see what happens there. I'm sure the B sample will be revealed pretty soon, and we'll know what's going to happen after that. The other one was yesterday's fight, Sebastian Fundora against Ocampo. I watched it. I've got to say I wasn't impressed with Fundora at all. I don't see how he beats Charlo or Tim Tszyu. I can't see it. Look, he's tall. I don't know why... I'm watching the fight thinking, why is this guy 6'6"? He's fighting a guy who actually was quite tall for a super welterweight. He was 5'10" in Ocampo. Why he was just standing there in the early rounds and mid-rounds and just letting Ocampo just unload on him without stepping back, using his reach, using his jab, stood in the pocket with him and wore unnecessary punches. I'm thinking, mate, you're either not a smart fighter or you're getting bad advice from your corner. But why would someone that's got... that much height advantage on an opponent, stand there shoulder to shoulder and trade power punches against a power puncher? I don't know. Ocampo, for me, look, he was a perfect opponent for Fundora as well. I mean, there wasn't much technique there. He pretty much put the chin up in the air, the hands by the side, and just let him go. He was such a sitting duck. I couldn't believe that Fundora wouldn't give himself more room and just pot shot him. He was just there. No head movement, no hands up, nothing. Just hands around the waist, and I'm just going to let him go. And if I land, the chin up in the air, it was all there for Fundora, and he couldn't nail him, which was really surprising. And look, I know styles make fights, as they say, but if Fundora fought that way against either Charlo or Tim Tszyu, I think he gets stopped. I really do. And I can just see both fighters, Charlo and Tszyu, just cutting Fundora down bit by bit by bit and stopping him in sort of the 9th, 10th, 11th rounds. So... but again, styles make fights. Maybe he thought Ocampo was just an easy hit for him, so he didn't fight as well as he could, but I was not impressed at all. So interesting to hear what you guys have to think about that. And the last thing before I go, Tyson Fury now is talking about fighting Derek Chisora. What do you guys think about that? We've gone from Usyk to Fury to Manuel Cha. There was Ortiz thrown in there as well, and can't remember who else there was, the guy that beat the Chinese guy. And now they're talking the ultimate British journeyman, Derek Chisora, coming out. And Fury said today that he was probably just as much a threat as Usyk was, trying to talk up Chisora's credentials. Tyson, we love you, mate, but we're not idiots. We can see through it. Just let it go. Just let it go. Fight someone credible, or just retire, or just wait or give Joshua his fight in January or February and give these guys a chance to work it out and fight him in early in the new year, and give what everyone wants, and that's the fight with Joshua or Usyk, not Chisora. Come on, Tyson. We love you, but come on. All right, before we go, Hogan should ask Fundora for a shot, like you said, Lynn. Yeah, good point, mate. Yeah, thanks for agreeing with that. That would be a good fight, I think. And the winner maybe fights the winner of Charlo and... Charlo and Tszyu, that ain't going to happen with Hogan, I don't think. But why not ask the question? I'd be surprised if Fundora took the fight. I think he's just going to play it safe until he gets the fight with the winner. But makes sense. It'd be a great fight. And if anyone can make that happen, no limit can make it happen. They've shown they can do these big fights. So, but I can't remember who said it earlier. There's got to be a method to the madness of why they would have lost a lot of money on the Hogan fight. What the sort of planning, and maybe it's Nikita Tszyu. Maybe they think, maybe in 6 months' time, maybe give Nikita another 2 or 3 fights and then put him in with Hogan. Hogan could probably sit out for 6, 8, 9 months. He's experienced enough; it wouldn't really worry him. But Nikita could get another 3 fights in that time, be 7-0. You never know. That was a very good point. Whoever pointed that out, I've got to say. All right. Shazora said, nah, Fury's been beating around the bush with him too. Maybe Shazora over it. I did see that, mate. I know that Shazora said that Fury was talking shit as usual, but it's just this is today. This is a new statement from Fury. Look, as I said, mate, Fury, we love him, but stop taking the piss. Come on. Rowan, so over Fury's antics. Nearly as frustrating as waiting for Spence versus Crawford. Well, you notice tonight you haven't even brought that up because it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Everyone's weighing in. Until we get an indicative answer of what's actually happening, I'm not even going to talk about it anymore because it's not even worth worrying about. In this era of today, this is one thing I hate about boxing these days. There's all this bullshit and posturing, and I understand there's more money involved than ever before. I get it. So there's a lot more negotiations and conditions. I understand it. But guys, you got to remember, at the end of the day, is the fighters. Just get on with it. And I said last week to Tassie, he did disagree. I said that Spence should tell Al Heyman to get the deal done. Stop rooting around and just get it done. Give Crawford a little bit more leeway in what's happening. Maybe rejig the deal a little bit. Give him a guaranteed purse and percentage. It might be a lot smaller than Spence, which is obviously what they've agreed to. But maybe make it 60-40 for Spence or 65-35, whatever you want it to be. Make the same for the pay-per-views, and let's just get the fight on and let's go. This whole thing with gross versus net and all percent, it's bullshit. So let's just get it on. I don't blame Crawford. Or Spence. I do blame Spence to some extent. Because Al Heyman works for him, not the other way around. He's making money off Spence. So Spence should say, Al, get the fight done or you're gone. I don't care who you've advised in the past. Let's just get this fight done. Because you've got to remember, I did see this on social media the other day. I know we're well over time here, by the way, but I'm going to keep talking. All right. When Leonard and Hearns fought, I think Leonard was 25, Hearns was 23 or about to turn 23. These guys, I think, what are they, 35 and 32? And they're having the first fight. They're actually older than what Leonard and Hearns were in the rematch that happened 8 years later. Put that into perspective. So, guys, get the fight done. It's ridiculous. All right, a couple more here. My dollars are on Tyson Fury versus Jean-Claude Van Char. Yeah, I'm with you, mate, 100%. Do you think it was tragic for Eddie Hearn to put the Matchroom show on the day before Kambosos Haney, make more noise? Yeah, I've said that right from the from Day.J, is that I didn't get why Eddie Hearn would put the this fight on before Kambosos Haney. I did actually think at the time it was going to be a pay-per-view, so I'll put that in context. I'm not totally against it. If it's only on the DAZN app, I think it's actually good. Everyone's in the mood. Everyone's looking for stuff to do. Everyone's in fight mode. I can sort of get it. And the other thing I have heard too is that locations or venues and buildings in the Brisbane area or Queensland were very, very hard to get around that time. So they had to take what they could get. And that's the reason why they've done it strategic, I think you're trying to say there, mate. Sorry, not tragic, strategic. So, yeah, I think that's what I heard too, mate, is that, yeah, the venues were very, very hard to get this time of year. They just couldn't get one, which is why they just had to take this date. But I think I'm not against it. I'm actually looking forward to having a massive boxing weekend. I'm looking forward to sitting down on Saturday night, watching Jarvis and Paro, and being right in the mood and getting up first thing Sunday morning and then off to Kambosos Haney. So I'm all for it. At the time when I thought it was a pay-per-view, I didn't think it was a good idea. I thought, why are people going to pay $60 for both? If they're going to have a choice, they're obviously going to go for Kambosos Haney. So why do it? But now that it's just part of the DAZN package, I think I'm all for it. I think it'd be great to get people in the mood for the big fight on Sunday. What do we got there? Fight Gun done an interview with Fight Hub done this spell check tonight. Fight Hub done an interview with Espinoza today, said both guys want the fight and there's no plan B for either guy and it's either the main focus getting the fight done, Justin Shaw on the date. Well, that's a good point, mate. We're not getting what Tyson Fury and Joshua are saying at the moment. Well, if it doesn't come off by this date, I'm going to move on. Both guys seem intent on getting the fight done, but I'll say it again. Spence has got to say to Al Heyman, you work for me, not the other way around. Get it done. Watch the go. Spencer's been on record as saying, I'm my own man. I do what I want. I've got an advisor, of course, in Al Heyman. But at the end of the day, I'm a free agent. I do what I want to do. So It can't be that hard for him to sit down with Al Heyman and say, all right, now what's the deal with Crawford? What's he getting offered? What does Crawford want in return? Okay, then let's just do it. Let's just get it done. That's my opinion. Now or never for welterweight undisputed. Mando obligations piling up. I don't think it'll matter too much on this one, to be honest, mate. I think all the sanctioning bodies will probably park the titles. They understand how big a fight it is. They understand the sanctioning fees involved. It'll be the winner. What will happen, I would think, is with the winner. I would think the winner will probably just go up in weight and vacate the titles. And the loser will probably then maybe fight for one or two of the vacant titles, and then all the others will converge for whatever's left over of that fight. So let's say Crawford wins. He moves up and puts himself in line to fight the winner maybe of Zoo and Charlo. Spence might either go up or he'll fight for another one or two, even two of his vacant titles at welterweight, and then all the others will just feed on what's left. That's what I think will happen. So I'm not that stressed about the whole undisputed title factor. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for tonight. We've gone over 2 hours, 2 hours and 9 minutes. I need to have a drink and sit down after that. It's been good. Thank you, Shane, for coming on. Really appreciate it, mate. For all you guys out there watching, it'd be great to have you on at some stage. You've got to just click the link and you come on like Shane did. Talk about whatever I'm talking about, or more importantly, what you guys want to talk about. And let's hope we get a few more as we go. A few more people on as we go. So that's it. So all the best for a big weekend as I go out of focus there. Big weekend of fights. Hang on, I'll just put that up there. There we go. Yep. So have a great weekend this weekend, guys, with both fight cards. There's some other smaller ones getting around as well. So whether you're going to the fights or you're watching, hope you have a good one, and look forward to reviewing all the fights next Monday night, and look forward to tuning in then. Thanks again.